he just can't bring himself to say it because of the criticism of him so often. Never hear Keir, two-tier Keir on policing, letting criminals out of prison early, even though it's led to serious consequences for law and order.
Well, diversity, equality and inclusion and the Equality Act have created a two-tier society. It's there in law. In the Equality Act, you are allowed to actively discriminate if a very particular group is underrepresented or faces barriers. You know, we see everywhere you go, every public institution, schools, hospitals, you see active attempts by the state to promote one particular group over another. That is two-tier. Why would it not have infected the police as well?
And it's been going on for years, I'm afraid. That's the problem.
Well, the question is, how is the country split? Do people come down on the side of Keir Starmer? They think policing is fair, or do they think Nigel Farage is correct?
Well, let's talk to Eric Kaufman, who's a political science professor and author. Professor Kaufman, good morning to you.
Good morning.
This is a shocking story. It has shocked the nation. People are genuinely galvanised by it. Is it, in your view, have politicians like Nigel Farage overstepped the mark here?
No, I think that there's a serious point which Farage is making. I think there's a distinction between stoking up division between racial groups. If Farage was saying, you know, the Sikhs are the problem here, we need to do something about the Sikhs, then you could accuse him of stoking racial division. But actually what he's trying to do is point to a kind of institutional ideology in which race is at the center. But really what this is about a kind of racial ideology or a sort of set of policies that are institutionally biased. So I think that's not the same thing as stoking racial division, and I think it's a little bit devious to accuse him of doing that. And I think it's a very real problem. I think, as we just heard from Miriam there, this is institutionalized in the 2010 Equality Act, which is then rolled through a whole bunch of institutions in their guidance, in their training, in their EDI training. And really at the bottom is an ideology which says equal outcomes is more important than equal treatment. So if, for example, one group is stopped and searched more or excluded from class more, then that must be because of discrimination. It can't be for any other reason, and therefore we actually have to intervene and treat groups differently in order to get equal outcomes. The other view, which I think Nigel Farage is expressing, is that equal treatment under the law or equal treatment is the paramount principle, even if that means there may be unequal outcomes. And I think that's probably where at least 2 in 3 of the British people are.
Now, Eric, you've studied these kind of diversity agendas a lot in higher education as well. We've seen the impact that they've had in the real world. How do we roll back from this? How do we remove the diversity agenda? How do we, I suppose, almost re-educate the many people who've fallen for these ideas into a more traditional British view of the world where, as you say, everybody's treated equally?
I think the problem is that public bodies and institutions, people self-select into those bodies and then they hire people like themselves into those bodies. So we've had some studies. There was a study by a think tank called Arch 10, which is related to the Behavioral Insights Unit in the previous governments, that found that between 65 and 90% of the employees on a number of public bodies surveyed were what were called, or fell into the category known as progressive activists. So this is a group with very cultural left-wing sympathies, that is very woke, if you like, that would support the idea of equal outcomes over equal treatment. They represent the overwhelming majority of people in these public bodies. So actually what we need to do is somehow get some viewpoint diversity into these public bodies, emphasize neutrality, impartiality, depoliticize these bodies. And that's only probably going to be able to come from political pressure from the top, political appointees, getting rid of DEI, getting rid of the whole infrastructure, which has kind of been put into place as a result of certainly events like the Stephen Lawrence killing, but also the 2010 Equality Act, also the pressure of various lobby groups, whether they're trans, whether they're based on race. The pressure has only been in one direction. And so these institutions incubate a culture that is basically that believes in woke ideology, which is, I would define it as the making sacred of historically marginalized race, gender, and sexual identity groups, putting them at the center of the ethos of these institutions. That has to be unwound, and it can probably only be unwound through some kind of executive action.
I don't want to make this a party political thing, Professor, but the fact is I think the Labour government have got a real problem here because Starmer's own backbenchers are really not going to be on board with any massive attempt to roll back DEI. A lot of their vote traditionally has been with the black community, the Muslim community. We've already heard a member of the Black Police Association saying that confidence in the black community on policing is at its lowest ebb now. So I just feel there's the political momentum for change will not come under a Labour government.
I think that's correct. I mean, you just have to look at some of the stakeholder groups that are important among Labour activists within the Labour Party. You saw, for example, the hysterical reaction to the Sewell report under the previous government, which really criticized this whole concept of institutional racism. I mean, that is just not accepted by the kind of activists that are unfortunately heavily populated in the Labour Party. And so, yeah, it's a sad fact. There may be statements that are made to say, oh, well, we're going to do better. But institutionally, when you get into the sinews of these, of the police, of the NHS, of the schools, of the universities, the pressure is all in the other direction. So I think it can really only happen under a right-of-centre government. I mean, even under the Tories, they went part of the way, but they experienced a lot of resistance. It's very difficult because you think of something like diversity, equity, and inclusion. These sound good. These are the labels on the tin. A lot of people are fooled by those labels, but diversity and equity means we're going to discriminate against some groups in order to achieve equal outcomes. Inclusion, means we're going to suppress people's freedom of expression in order not to hurt the feelings of historically marginalized groups. So these ideologies are deeply illiberal, they're deeply unfair, but they cloak themselves under nice-sounding labels. It's going to take a government that is serious and has the stamina to see through reform all the way. I mean, even, for example, the influence of Stonewall, yes, there were statements made. Yes, some departments got rid of Stonewall, but others didn't. And it just shows how entrenched these ideologies are.
Well, Eric Kaufman, Professor of Political Science, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thanks, Miriam.
And thank you for coming on, Professor, and what a voice of common sense. Now, still ahead, you must be joking. Can you believe this? Sainsbury's are going to ditch brown eggs. Brown eggs in favour of white eggs, all in the latest push for Ed Miliband's net zero. At one point, I thought it was going to be something to do with diversity and inclusion. Egg diversity. But apparently, it's all to do with the environment. Sainsbury's, if you're listening, please don't go there. I like my brown eggs. They're very nice.
Well, coming up next, a crackdown on student visas.
We need our immigration system to be controlled so that it's not being abused, so people aren't coming on study or work visas to then claim asylum.
Well, we'll tell you how the government plans to stop the use of study visas as a backdoor route to claiming asylum.
But first, here's a forecast for some elusive European holiday sun.
Can't wait to get in that sea.
Lovely and warm.
Just like the feeling of having great travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GBNews Travel Destinations Forecast.
Things are warming up over Italy and Croatia as we head towards the weekend. Plenty of sunshine across Spain and Portugal also. Brisk winds, but sunny spells likely for Madeira and the Canary Islands. There's lots of sunshine for the Algarve and most of the Spanish costas. Just a small chance of a bit more cloud in the east and perhaps one or two showers. A bit more cloud over central Italy on Friday, but that should be clearing away. And as I said at the start, temperatures likely to be on the rise in Rome and also Dubrovnik as we go through the weekend.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GBNews Travel Destinations Forecast.
Some people enjoy lazy Sunday mornings, but not me.
What's the truth of the matter?
So that's a very live question.
Would you support him if he waters down these plans?
Before the spin sets in, I'll be getting to the truth.
This is personal.
No soft questions, no easy answers.
It's one thing if the state has rules in this country. It's another thing whether the police and others actually police them.
Setting the agenda and holding those in power to account.
You can't really blame her if the system is set up this way.
You will not want to miss it, trust me. The Camilla Tominey Show, Sundays from 9:30, only on GB News.
Sunday with Michael Portillo from 11, only on GB News.
Now, GB News' motto could be, bring me your cancelled masses yearning to breathe free. And so I'm delighted to give him a platform on this programme. Delighted to say that Mario joins me now. Mario, I'm sorry you find yourself in this position. Shall we just recap for a moment why you believe that the Elgin Marble should remain in the British Museum? You've argued that on this programme before, but it was a while ago.
Absolutely. There are two orders of reasons. One is that the Greek claim is basically bogus because it's made on the assumption that they were stolen, which is completely false and unsupported by the extant historical documentation, which is quite clear. We have the grant of permission, even in translation. We have plenty of witnesses at the time who were in Athens who saw this permission in the original and who say Lord Elgin was empowered to do whatever he did because of this permission. So this is one way. The other reason is that now they are an integral part of British culture and an integral part, a fundamental asset of the British Museum. So even if you have full sympathy for the Greek aspiration to recompose an ancient monument that has been broken, first of all, this is not possible anymore because 1/3 of the decoration is gone and they are not putting whatever is remaining back on the temple. And second of all, you cannot break another cultural asset, another cultural collection that has had such a profound impact in our cultural history, in Western civilization cultural history, and just because of a nationalistic view.
I understand.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Breaking news, live updates, stories that matter.
From the heart of the GB Newsroom to every corner of Britain.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
GB News bulletins are there to deliver the latest news that matters to you.
Bulletins on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. It's 11 minutes to 10. You're watching and listening to Britain's Newsroom on GB News.
Government has unveiled new measures targeting migrants who claim asylum after staying in the UK on student visas.
While universities sponsoring overseas students will face tougher compliance rules, including stricter attendance targets, with sanctions for institutions that fail to meet.
Now, this is a scoop for our very own GB News digital reporter, Marcus Donaldson. Marcus, tell us more.
Morning, guys. Well, yes, so it's a serious issue. So last year, 11,000 people who came in on student visas claimed asylum. That's down 30% on the previous year, so it's still that high. And that's 1 in 9 of all asylum visas are claimed by people. Asylum claims are claimed by people on student visas.
What sort of countries were they from?
Well, see, that's the thing, is the government's actually put in place some restrictions that, so a majority are coming from Afghanistan, places like Cameroon. Now, they've now blocked those, and that's helped reduce the numbers, but now they want to go further. So yeah, the scale of this policy is quite interesting. They're going to touch on every university, and when I spoke to Migration Minister Mike Tapp this week on this, here's what he had to say.
But these new compliance rules will impact all universities who have access to the international student market. We're still seeing around 11,000 last year go from study to asylum claims. So we need to ensure that people who are coming here to study are coming here to study and that they are genuinely coming here for that reason.
So what we're looking at here is a way of trying to stop the universities from issuing visas supposedly for people to study, but actually to make their way into the jobs market. I was just looking at the figures this morning, and we're still issuing an extraordinary number of international visas every year, 400,000 or so, massively up, of course, since Boris Johnson reintroduced the post-student graduate visa scheme. Asylum is one problem, but there's a much bigger problem here in terms of just the number of immigrants that are arriving from universities, for universities.
Well, this is it, and this is basically what the government's trying to seemingly get a hold on. That they're caging in terms of abuse. So they're saying that people coming in erroneously, basically not to study justice. And the way they're going to do this, they're going to set new targets for universities. They're going to look for about 90% attendance rate in classes, 90% pass rate in courses, so people aren't just coming in just to then claim asylum. And if universities don't follow those targets, they're going to introduce a scaling punishment system. So that's going to begin with a 12-month programme to get those numbers back on track, funded by the institutions themselves, but could go all the way to stopping them from taking in any international students altogether. Now, as you and I know, that could be financially ruinous for any institution.
They need the money, don't
exactly. So I think basically what Mike Tapp was saying to me is it's firm but fair. And basically, here's what he had to say on the firmness of the new policy.
Well, look, there's obviously some discretion in some cases, but by being quite firm on this means that universities are more likely to reach the standards that we as a country expect. And the conversations that I've had today have been really constructive and sensible. And it's important as a minister to get out and talk to those who are implementing and having to abide by these rules. So I've learnt some useful bits of information today, but the policy is strong and it will help us bring down the abuse of the system.
Does this just happen now, Mark, or does this have to get legislation?
Well, basically, there's going to be a 12-month period. Where so next year, there's going to be a traffic light system going to come into place, which will regulate the universities and will regard them as red, as in they're failing these targets altogether. Amber, they're moving towards failing, and green, they're all good. So that's going to be summer next year. And Mike Tapp was very keen to say this is very much hand in glove with the institutions. They want them to prepare. They don't want them to fail. They want to welcome international students. Of course, we have a proud history of that in this country. We have some of the best higher education institutions in the world. So we want the best and brightest, but we don't want it being abused. That is the government line on this.
And I wonder if it is just a way of kicking the can down the road in terms of university funding, because in the long term, being so reliant on foreign students is not a good thing. The fact that they can't raise tuition fees, and we wouldn't want them to, means that this is their only source of income. Do we just have too many universities? We need to let some of them fail.
It's an interesting point, Raymond. I think basically, I was asking Mike about this, about like what the success would look like for this policy, and they were very keen not to put numbers on it. So it really remains to be seen exactly how much of an effect this will have on the immigration system, and certainly on broader, wider education. We will just need to wait and see.
Have the universities raised any alarm bells about this?
So Mike was saying, it seems to be no. They seem to be hand-gloved. They seem to be prepared for this. So at the moment, it doesn't seem no, but like that, again, I think it all remains to be seen because these things have yet to come in properly. So when these punishments start being meted out, if they are punishments, I think that's when we'll start to see the rubber hitting the road.
Right, very interesting. Good story.
Marcus Donaldson, thank you very much for that report. We will watch and see how it develops.
We certainly will. Now, summing up, talking of universities, a quarter of students think the Hamas October 7th massacre, that's what it was, were defensible. And the head of the Oxford Union's got some pretty horrible views too.
Yeah, very different views to the rest of the public as well. While you're watching Britain's Newsroom, Britain's favourite morning show on GB News. Lots more coming up after your weather.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Morning. Welcome to your latest weather update from the Met Office here on GB News. It's a day of showers, plenty of them. Heavy ones, particularly across the south where hail and thunder are also likely, and some gusty winds too. That means the showers will tend to zip through, but a good day for puddle jumping or rainbow spotting. Across Scotland, the showers will be quite slow moving, so here the rainfall could really build up as we go through the day. Whereas in the south, as I said, with the gusty winds, the showers will tend to come and go, and there will be some sunny spells between those showers, which will see temperatures up into the high teens, maybe squeaking close to 20 Celsius, but feeling cooler with the breeze and certainly feeling cooler when the showers come along. So a good day for the gardens as those showers continue to replenish the water butts, particularly across the south, where, as I say, the showers could be pretty intense, some hail and thunder mixed in. By the evening, some drier slots revealing a little bit of sunshine, but the showers chugging through across Northern Ireland, through the Irish Sea into northwest England. Further north, the winds are lighter. So as I said at the start, the showers could be quite slow moving here. Could end up being quite a wet day for some, particularly across Aberdeenshire. Temperature-wise here, struggling a little bit to get much above 13 or 14 Celsius. Through the evening and overnight, staying showery, but the showers will tend to fade, certainly across many central and eastern parts. Good chance of largely clear skies over eastern England, much of Wales after midnight, but the showers will certainly keep going across Scotland. Temperature-wise, most towns and cities holding up in double digits. On to Friday. It is, broadly speaking, another day of sunshine and showers, but not as many showers. A better chance of seeing longer dry spells. And indeed, parts of eastern Scotland, eastern England may not see many showers at all. And even further west, the showers won't be as intense, certainly won't be as frequent. Some clouds certainly will build up through the day, but many places seeing at least some spells of sunshine. Temperatures maybe a degree or so down, but the winds at least a touch lighter on Friday.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Thank you, Britain, for the thousands of you who are becoming friends of GB News each and every week.
Good morning. This is the latest AI travel news from GBnews.com. Travel disruptions today start with the A702 being restricted at Easter Howgate after an oil spill causing delays. On the M4, heavy congestion affects eastbound traffic between junctions 27 and 24. In Derby, the A38 southbound has slow traffic, and in Warwickshire, the M42 northbound slip is blocked by a vehicle breakdown. Surrey's M25 clockwise lane closure impacts flow, and in Milton Keynes, a vehicle fire closed 2 lanes on the M1 northbound. And on the trains, disruptions impact the Great Western Railway and South Western Railway networks. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
There's a totally tax-free £76,543.21 in cash to be won. Cash to spend on anything you like. That's like having over £6,000 extra to spend each month for a whole year. You could spend it on a bucket list holiday, treats for all of the family, or just save it for a rainy day. For a chance to win, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB21 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 26th of June. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pooled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
At the stroke of midnight, the news doesn't stop, and neither do we.
Day in, day out. Forget stuffy late night TV shows. We're giving you a front row ticket to the centre of the political universe.
Because breaking news doesn't wait for the morning.
And neither do we. Join us for one of the most controversial and volatile times of politics in human history.
A very big story.
Big story over here.
You won't get this anywhere else. The Late Show live at midnight, every night.
Only on GB News.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good morning, it's 10 o'clock on Thursday the 4th of June. We are live across the United Kingdom. This is Britain's Newsroom with Andrew Pearce and Miriam Cates.
The two-tier policing row, no sign of it going away anytime soon.
If we don't end two-tier policing in this country, we will turn millions of ordinary, law-abiding citizens against the police and against the authorities in this country.
Well, Nigel Farage doubles down on his two-tier policing claims after the murder of Henry Novak, despite fierce backlash from political opposition.
Exploiting this tragedy to create grievance and division would be wrong in any circumstances, but to do it when the family are expressly saying, please don't, is unforgivable.
Diversity by force. Hampshire police officers admit they felt controlled and pressured during anti-racism training. The Chief Constable and Alexis Boone apologised for what happened to Henry Novak, but denies two-tier policing.
We have said we are sorry for handcuffing and arresting Henry at that time.
And in an exclusive interview with GB News, former police officer Christy Hill, who was wrongly identified in the case and forced into a safe house, has spoken out.
And I'm in a position where I'm genuinely scared. Like, there's a real fear for my safety here if I was to go out.
And a student visa crackdown. The government's new traffic light system will aim to stop the abuse of study visas as a backdoor route to claiming asylum.
We need our immigration system to be controlled so that it's not being abused, so people aren't coming on study or work visas to then claim asylum.
And a Gen Z Gaza divide. A shocking new survey this morning shows over a quarter of undergraduates think that the Hamas October the 7th attacks were defensible, including the president of the Oxford Union, Arwa Al-Reyes.
And we're going to tell you what Arsenal footballers are doing with their socks for donkeys. Find out why the farmyard favourites have received top-flight leg protections from the Gunners, who of course are the Premier League champions this summer.
And you must be yoking. Sainsbury's ditched brown eggs in the latest push for Ed Miliband's net zero. What a scrambled idea.
God,
this green agenda is.
What a scrambled script it is.
Andrew, I do think the government is right to try and limit the number of international students coming here who are then able to claim asylum. But I think that is the tip of the iceberg, really, because it's been such an important route for pushing up immigration more generally.
Yeah.
Until 2020, once you'd finished your degree, you had to go back to your home country.
Yeah.
And about 85% of people did. A few stayed on and got high-wage jobs. But now, I think it's only about 56% return home straight away because they're allowed to stay, and that's pushed up immigration figures massively.
Yeah, and what jobs do they do when they stay here? Are they doing just low-paid jobs? Are they disappearing into the black economy?
Well, we learnt last week, didn't we, that for every 20, only one young British person has been taken on by employers. For every 27 non-EU young people over the past 10 years. So that's what they're doing.
That's right. And a lot of them, if you remember, were youngsters from Pakistan, India and Nigeria, presumably, who come here to study.
Maybe they have got degrees and stayed. So it's a very complicated system, and maybe the universities just need to shrink a bit instead of relying on the funding.
Well, I thought you made a very interesting point. We were talking to Marcus earlier, do we have too many universities?
Yeah.
We do.
I think so.
We want more people to do apprenticeships, which is a very honourable, noble way to learn, and would almost certainly mean you'll be in work for the rest of your life.
I think the problem is that no government can afford for universities to start collapsing on their watch, and so they just keep propping them up. But let's see, this traffic light system might make a difference.
Absolutely. Now, as ever, we want to know what you think, so please send your views and post your comments by visiting
gbnews.com/your say. But first, here's the news with Sam Francis.
Very good morning to you from the newsroom just after 10 o'clock. Well, the top story this morning, the police watchdog has urged people to stop speculating about Henry Novak's murder and the police response in his final moments. Director of the IOPC, Derek Campbell, says the live investigation will establish what happened, including whether any officers may have committed misconduct. It comes after Hampshire police apologised for handcuffing Henry after he had been fatally stabbed, while rejecting claims of two-tier policing. Well, Nigel Farage has said that the case shows public trust in policing is breaking down, and said that recent scenes of anger on the streets of Southampton is just a warning sign, and took that argument yesterday to Sir Keir Starmer in the Commons.
We're living under two-tier policing. The instructions that are given to police officers from police bosses are clear and written down in ink. It says you must treat different ethnic groups in different ways.
Well, the Prime Minister rejected those accusations from Nigel Farage, instead accusing him of exploiting a tragedy, and warned that he could be making a painful case even more dangerous.
I'm really shocked that he pretends to have respect for Henry's family and then acts in this way. His response has been to appeal for rage. Rage. That's his response to a father who's lost his son and asked for that not to happen. Exploiting this tragedy to create grievance and division.
In other news this morning, new messages appear to show Sir Keir Starmer's top aide told Lord Mandelson he was so sorry after he was fired as US ambassador. Reports in The Spectator claim Darren Jones also told Mandelson he had been doing a great job and worked wonders with Trump. The messages were not included in published Mandelson files because they were reportedly on Jones's old mobile phone. It comes after Darren Jones apologised in Parliament, saying he had treated Mandelson differently because he believed him to have power and influence within Labour. Tube drivers have walked out again the second time this week, causing fresh disruption across London. Some lines have no trains running at all, while others are facing delays and part suspensions. The dispute centres on TfL's plans for a voluntary 4-day working week, where drivers who opt in would work longer shifts over 4 days instead of 5. The RMT union, though, says that could increase fatigue in a safety-critical role. Transport for London says the changes are voluntary and drivers can stay on their current arrangements. And Israel and Lebanon have agreed to renew their fragile ceasefire with a new pilot security zone planned inside Lebanon. The US State Department says Hezbollah operatives would be banned from those areas, with the Lebanese armed forces taking control instead. The deal follows a fresh round of US-mediated talks in Washington after Israeli strikes in southern Lebanon and rocket fire into northern Israel. But the agreement at this stage remains fragile, with reports of further Israeli strikes in Lebanon and Hezbollah yet to set out its position. Those are this morning's headlines for you. More news in half an hour. Next, a look at the markets.
Taking the ups and downs in our stride. Stilts Home Lifts sponsors the GB News Finance Report.
Just gone 8 minutes past 10, the markets for you. The pound will buy $1.3430 and €1.1564. The price of gold, £3,323 per ounce. The FTSE 100's at 10,308 points.
GB News Finance Report, brought to you by Stilts Home Lifts.
Hello, good morning and welcome. You're watching and listening to Britain's Newsroom. We're live across the United Kingdom on GB News with Andrew Pearce and Miriam Cates. Well, should we have a look what you've been saying on gbnews.com/your say. Lots of comments on Nigel Farage's intervention yesterday over the Henry Novak murder. Donald says, the way the left piled on Nigel Farage and Reform yesterday was an utter disgrace. Sharon says, Farage is spot on. He chooses his words carefully. Jess says, I was disgusted and enraged by what happened to Henry Novak before I saw the body cam footage. After seeing the footage, I've had enough. I'm furious and disgusted. But then Dawn says Farage has destroyed his own position with his attack on Badenoch. And we were just talking about this in the break, Andrew. I agree with you. I think Farage's intervention yesterday was important.
Yeah,
I think it's fine for politicians to express emotion. That is not calling for unrest. It's just reflecting.
And the Chief Secretary of the Treasury, the Minister around this morning, said he was inciting people to be violent against peace. He was not.
No, I absolutely agree. I mean, people use different words, don't they? And that's fine. But, you know, we're all adults. Just because you hear a politician express an emotion doesn't mean you have to go out and act on it. So yeah. I think it was a perfectly legitimate intervention. But I do not understand why Reform have deliberately misrepresented what Kemi Badenoch said. Yes. She was on this programme saying, I don't want to hear white lives matter, I don't want to hear black lives matter, all lives matter. That's right. She was making the point that everybody should be treated equally, which I would imagine is a position that Reform share. And yet they cut out the I don't want to hear Black Lives Matter and just focus on the White Lives Matter, and then retweeted it and completely taken out of context, and then tried to defend it.
It was dishonest.
And unnecessary.
And that really does cheapen political discourse. She's made her point. Nigel made his point, but I mean, the ongoing point is this: what is the government going to do about the fact we do have two-tier policing in place? We've seen it now with our own eyes, with the guidance which says that you have to treat people effectively. It says people of ethnic origin differently.
Yes, and you
do
can't
not be
colourblind.
Do not be colourblind. So that is saying we treat one part of the community differently. That's two-tier.
Yeah, exactly. And the obvious thing to do would be to remove all the guidance that talks about this two-tier policing, but that won't be enough because it's so entrenched, it's been going on for such a long time. This is the direct outworking of the Macpherson report, which is 30 years old.
It is.
Surely the people who have made it to the top of the policing right now have had their entire careers imbibing this agenda. It's not simply a matter of tear up the guidance and everything will be fine.
Just to remind you, the National Police Chiefs Council's words say a commitment to racial equality does not mean treating everyone the same or being colourblind. There we are. It's in black and white. Does not mean treating everyone the same. Yes, it should.
Yeah.
We should all be treated the same. And when Nigel Farage said that millions of ordinary people may feel they're not being treated fairly, what he means is a lot of white people will think they are now becoming second class in the eyes of the police.
And I think it's not...
And other institutions,
I don't think
by the
it's
way.
necessarily that police officers or anybody else in other institutions are anti-white. It's just that they're terrified
They've been indoctrinated.
of appearing racist. And it's all about appearances, isn't it? And appearances have become more important than doing the right thing or using common sense.
A university was commissioned to do a study into the attitude of Hampshire Police, which is the force that treated Henry Novak so badly. 1 in 7 of those officers in that force said they felt pressured by diversity initiatives, pressurised.
Yeah, and they had to take a particular point of view. Well, this follows questions being raised over Hampshire Police handcuffing 18-year-old Henry Novak as he lay dying in December.
The Chief Constable Alexis Boone has apologised but denied allegations of two-tier policing. However, this is what Nigel Farage had to say.
If we don't end two-tier policing in this country, we will turn millions of ordinary, law-abiding citizens against the police and against authorities in this country.
Well, this followed a day of fierce criticism from London Mayor Sir Sadiq Khan, from Baroness Doreen Lawrence, the mother of Stephen Lawrence, and Prime Minister at Prime Minister's Questions. Take a listen.
Exploiting this tragedy to create grievance and division would be wrong in any circumstances, but to do it when the family are expressly saying, please don't, is unforgivable.
And Christy Hill, who served as a police officer for 12 years but has now left the force, has been wrongly identified as being involved in the arrest on social media. As a result, she had to flee her home. She spoke to The Late Show Live. Take a listen.
Yeah, death threats, threats of extreme violence, trying to find family, people that know me, you know, people saying that I shouldn't be put in a position like I have been. It's been really tough to read it, and it's just been an absolute onslaught. So I left Hampshire Constabulary in April 2024, and the tragic event with Henry Novak happened in December 2025. So it's impossible for me to have been anywhere near the incident.
Now look, Christy, all Hampshire Police needed to do in this instance, and of course they're under mega scrutiny at the moment for the case itself, all they had to do was come out and say, everybody sharing this person's name, Christy's name, this picture, these two officers from this Bravery Award occasion, they are nothing to do with Henry Novak. Indeed, Christy, yourself, you weren't even a copper at the time of Henry's murder. Why haven't they done that?
Good question. It's a question that I've been asking them repeatedly. I've had communications with them where I've asked, could you please just use my name, use the photo again if need be very, very clear that I had nothing to do with that incident and wasn't a serving police officer at the time of the incident. It needn't be any more than that. I've had next to no communication from them whatsoever, and to be quite honest, feel really let down.
Well, speaking about anti-racism guidelines used by police forces, Chief Constable Gavin Stevens, chair of the NPCC, said they would make changes to their guidelines He said, we're listening to legitimate concerns about how some of these commitments are worded or phrased, and where needed, we can and will make changes, but this should not detract from the intent, which is to improve the quality of policing.
But how did they get that guidance in the first place?
Well,
which whiz copper thought it was fair to say commitments, duration of quality does not mean treating everyone the same?
Yeah.
And how did that go unnoticed by our political class? It's scandalous.
Yeah. It absolutely, and it does ask a really important question. The murder of Stephen Lawrence was an appalling event.
Yeah.
There very obviously were racial elements to that. The conclusion of...
And the way the police conducted investigation was racist too.
They clearly didn't take it as seriously as they would have been had he not been black. But the report found that the police was institutionally racist, which personally I think is a made-up term. How can an institution be racist? Individuals within it can be racist. And that led to this kind of purity spiral that we now have, where you can never be anti-racist enough. And here we are. What a mess 30 years later.
Well, the head of the Independent Office for Police Conduct, which is investigating what happened to Henry Novak, but I repeat, not investigating the conduct of the officers, including the one who said, "I don't think so, mate," when Henry said he'd been stabbed. He said, God, listen to what a cheek. We'd respectfully ask people to stop speculating on an ongoing live investigation. What's it got to do with him?
Well, I suppose he's got to do the investigation. This investigation is going to fully establish the circumstances of the case, including whether there may be misconduct on the part of any of the officers involved.
And yet the officers involved are not being investigated. They are being treated as witnesses. Witnesses to what? They were there.
Yeah.
They were the ones who didn't believe him, didn't listen to him when he said 9 times, I can't breathe, and 4 times, I've been stabbed. They didn't listen. They mocked him, actually.
Yeah.
And they're witnesses.
Indeed, well, a Hampshire Constabulary spokesperson said, we know there has been significant commentary following the sentences of Vikram Digwa, and we recognise the desire for answers about the police response that night. However, what we cannot accept is the significant spread of misinformation online by those intent on causing further fear and division by making threats to officers and sharing names that are simply not true.
And can I just say as well, this murder happened 6 months ago. Why are they still investigating it? Why isn't the report done?
Well, didn't they have to wait for the outcome of the court case, which was obviously only last year, but that was only last week, wasn't it? Yeah.
But they haven't they done all the investigations already? Haven't they done all the questions? Why have we got to wait? How much longer do we have to wait?
Yeah, I don't know.
How much longer does this family have to be put through this purgatory?
But I think they're right to call out what's going on online. I mean, the fact that a completely innocent and unrelated police officer has had to have protection because she's been attacked, that's also completely unacceptable. We do, you know, as much as we might distrust the police in this issue, we do have to let the investigation take place without targeting anybody else.
But they should get on with it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, in a change of tone, there is time still for you to win our Great British giveaway, which is £76,000, £543.21. Here's how you do it.
This year, your summer could be sensational, as we're giving you the chance to win a simply stunning £76,543.21 in tax-free cash. That's cash that could go towards family treats, spectacular summer days out, or give you the chance to chill out and relax somewhere like here, the Imperial Island Resort in Paphos. You really could be our next big winner with a whopping £76,543.21 in your bank. Just make sure you don't miss out as lines close on the 26th of June.
For a chance to win £76,543.21 in tax-free cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB21 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Parents must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 26th of June. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pooled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Okay. Well, of course, one story we haven't covered yet today is those Mandelson files. There were 1,500 pages of emails and various communications released earlier on in the week, and now the latest victim is Darren James.
Yeah, who's the Chief Secretary to the Prime Minister. But these latest revelations about him weren't in the big release of documents. They were picked up by Tim Shipman on The Spectator, and he's got some very unflattering things to say about the Chancellor, the then Business Secretary, and some very flattering things to say about Mandelson.
Indeed.
Who'd have thought it?
Going to be very awkward cabinet meetings, aren't they, now that they all know what they've said about each other behind their backs?
Yeah, we're going to go through all that and more with our panellists, Carol Malone and Nigel Nelson. You can also rely on them to disagree. This is Britain's Newsroom on GB News.
Do you trust what you're being told? Good, because neither do I.
Those are just facts.
I'm Alex Armstrong, and on my show, we'll expose the spin.
Well, I want to answer that, because you didn't let me last time, because you always speak over me.
The broken promises.
To deny that is denying the truth.
And the hypocrisy.
Stop. You think we can allow?
Politics, policy, parliament. Nothing is off limits. No sugarcoating, no fear of offence, just the truth laid bare. Tune in every Saturday and Sunday at 9 p.m. for Alex Armstrong Tonight, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates,
5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5. You got me. You got me good there. Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show.
It's not a bad brand.
Yeah.
Uncensored.
Very, very racist tonight on the unpredictable.
What does she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome to Free Speech Nation with me, Josh Howard. This is the show where each week we see what's happening in the world of culture, current affairs and politics.
First we'll say, welcome to the UK. Oh, thank you.
And we're not afraid to use our free speech so that you can use yours.
It's not controversial in the slightest to anyone who hasn't lost their mind.
Free Speech Nation, Sunday nights at 7 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Welcome back to Britain's Newsroom with Andrew Pearce and Miriam Cates. And we're joined now in the studio by our panel, Daily Express columnist Carol Malone and GB News senior political commentator Nigel Nelson.
So the Commons was very highly charged, Nigel. You've sat through many of these.
I was sitting there yesterday, yes.
And it was all very respectful, and Kemi Badenoch and Nigel and the Prime Minister were not knocking spots off each other like they normally do. It all changed when Nigel Farage rose to his feet and got straight to the point about two-tier policing.
Yes. So it was the two-tier policing, but...
Which we have.
Well, I would contest that.
Of course you would.
I think we have multi-tier policing, which is a completely different thing.
Oh, no, I heard that one.
Well, you should have done. I mean, the whole thing is that police have to treat different things in different ways.
Police have to treat people equally. And
No,
you don't.
Yes, they do. You get an equal outcome is what they're after.
No.
Look,
commitment to racial equality does not mean treating everyone the same or being colourblind.
That is what they're looking at. I mean, the Police Chiefs Council is now looking at that.
That is two-tier policing.
You would, for instance, treat somebody who was mentally ill differently from someone who wasn't.
what we're talking about.
You would then look at a protest.
Let's go back to Farage. So, because the Prime Minister went big time on it.
Yeah.
And knowing that Farage couldn't come back at him as well.
Well, and also that was the mood in the House of Commons. I mean, you also heard the jeering and booing that went on.
Yeah, but they always do that for Farage.
Well, they were particularly outraged by his comment about cold rage. That's what really angered them. Also, they were very angry, and you could hear it in the background. He wouldn't condemn the violence down in Southampton, which he should have done. And the impression was he was weaponising this tragic case.
Oh, please, and
for
Keir
political
Starmer,
purposes.
And Keir Starmer was not the man who has been silent over this murder until this week, until the verdict. He was too cowardly to talk about it before the verdict because he didn't want to upset...
It's not cowardliness.
No, it's because he didn't want to upset the Sikh community. But
talking about it after the verdict...
How dare he talk?
He was found guilty on Thursday last week.
That's right.
And Starmer had said nothing, not a word.
That's right.
Not a word.
And
And do you know what he did? Let me say this, because you've just said something I think is totally wrong. All Starmer's reaction initially to that verdict was one little tweet. That's what he said. Now he is capitalising on the family. He is using that family, that devastated family, to attack Farage. And those scenes yesterday were appalling. Lindsay Hoyle sat there and did nothing while Farage was heckled and screamed at and shouted down. And it happens every time he says anything. But the bottom line is, Farage has started this debate on anti-white racism. It's him that has pushed this from the start. He's been talking about Henry Novak for weeks and weeks, whereas the Tories and Labour have not. And suddenly they're all over it. Starmer's using this for his political ends, using, I'm a father. OK, if you're a father and you have a son, what would you feel if it was your son? And Nigel Farage, that's what he's saying to this country. When he said... Pure cold rage. We are all raging, Nigel.
Well, you shouldn't be. You should not be. You should be sad. You should be outraged, not rage.
If you're not raging, Nigel, nothing gets changed.
When you rage, you end up with the kind of violence we saw in Southampton.
No, rage brings change. That doesn't mean protests in the street. That doesn't mean people setting fire.
That's what it leads to.
No, it doesn't.
Carol, there is a difference, though, isn't there, between feeling angry and distressed about something and then maturely turning that into a practical response. And I suppose rage conjures up the feeling of a loss of control, and that we don't want that. We don't want a loss of control. In a democratic society, that's wrong.
Rage is explosive.
No one's asking for loss of control, but what we are asking for is action. And the thing was, we wouldn't be having this conversation today about anti-white racism if it was not for Nigel Farage's intervention, not just this week, but in previous weeks. He's the only one who has talked about this. Now, OK, Kemi Bay was very good this week. Your paper, Dan Hodges today, talks about it. Yes, she was very good. She was reasoned, and her response was reasoned. But, you know, to attack a politician in that way in the House of Commons for what he believes, and I'll tell you, for what millions of people in this country believe. You know, you can say by your wires today, your comments today, people agreed with Farage. They did.
But rage does lead to violence, and Nigel Farage then weaponising something like this against the wishes of the family, which was the point. I mean, I haven't seen Keir Starmer quite so passionate for a long time.
The wishes of the family.
But it was against the wishes of the family. They explicitly said they didn't want divisiveness to come out of this.
Did you hear Farage's speech at the start of the week where he talked about exactly that? He said, if we don't stop this two-tier policing, it will lead to dividing communities. It will lead to toxicity. He actually said all of that.
But you have to accept the premise then of two-tier policing before you actually go there. And it was quite clearly that the government doesn't. But the reaction there, I think Kemi Badenoch was actually very good in the House of Commons yesterday by staying off the subject for her questions. That was the right thing to do.
Subject that the whole country is talking about.
She's talked about it.
We need change.
But what she was doing at PMQs yesterday was not going in on the questions about this case. That was the right thing to do. It was only when Nigel Farage brought the whole thing up and MPs were universally disgusted by what he had said.
He's talking about two-tier policing, which, whether you admit it or not, exists in this country. It is a reality.
Can I just talk about the context of the family here, the wishes of the family? The family agreed for that video, for that terrible footage of the last moments of their son being released. They agreed to that.
Yes.
The father making that emotional, powerful statement, how he got through it. And nobody will ever forget how Mum is standing there desperately trying to hold it together. when both those things had happened, it was out of their control then. It was always going to become a major national debate because people were so shocked, Nigel, so appalled to see what is effectively the last moments of an innocent 18-year-old boy.
Yes.
And the police who should have been there to help him, demonising him, treating him with total disdain,
and you don't,
or treating him like a criminal.
I agree with every word you're saying.
But you don't think we have a right to be angry?
At that point, the whole country was galvanised, and there was the political debate was on, and whatever the family wanted, they'd lost control of the agenda.
I'm not arguing about the debate. I'm arguing about the language used and the way the debate is conducted.
What language?
And
what language? You're talking about the words pure cold rage.
I am.
What about the rest of what he said? Can you remember the rest of what he said in the speech? Because he was talking about calm. He was talking about he didn't want division, that this would lead to division. And it has. And this is not the first time that we've talked about two-tier policing in this country. It has led to division. It has led to great swathes of white people feeling they're demonised in a country. And ethnic minorities are given priority. And we see it every single day. Even the Sentencing Council actually says when someone has committed a crime, that if they have to be different cultures, different ethnicities have to be treated differently for the same crime. What kind of justice is that?
Well, we're talking about two different things here when it comes down to the case of Henry Novak. One is how the police behaved, and we still don't know if that was a direct result of anti-racist policies. All we know is they were called to a racist incident. Their bad behaviour, we don't know what caused that. That is the point of the Independent Office of Police Conduct investigation.
It's going to get to the point of that because they're being seen as witnesses. Their conduct is not part of the investigation.
Yes, they are witnesses at the moment, but it could easily go to misconduct and possibly a criminal prosecution after that.
You know, had they bothered to check on Digwear, they'd have seen that 2 years ago he had been accused of stealing knives from his local temple and had been banned from his local temple for exactly that. The temple said he was dangerous and didn't want him to be part. Had they bothered to do any checks when they arrived at the scene, they would have understood that the person, the victim in all this was Novak and not the other one.
Well, the first thing they've got to do is go to the scene. I mean, a complaint has been made. It was a complaint of racism. They went to the scene. The next question is the fact that the way that they treated Henry. Was he being dragged across the gravel? Was he being handcuffed because of those racist policies or not?
This was a boy who was unresponsive. You've got the bloke running around.
No, I agree, but there's bad behaviour by the police. The question is why.
And you've got an unresponsive.
But he
young
wasn't
boy.
unresponsive to start with, was he? Because he called out, "I've been stabbed."
No, when I say unresponsive, I mean not moving. Okay, unresponsive was the wrong word. So he was always slumped against the wall. He didn't move, and he said, as you said before, 9 times. He said, "I can't breathe."
4 times
so you cuff the guy that says, "I can't breathe," and that's not moving, and the one who's running around who says, "I've had my turban ripped off."
Obviously, we'll be back to this subject and more, but pressure of time. We're going to go to our 60-second news update now with Sam Francis.
Very good morning to you. 10:33. The headlines this hour. 2 men have been charged after disorder in Southampton following the murder of Henry Novak. The CPS says one man is charged with assaulting a police officer, another charged with violent disorder and possession of an offensive weapon. Robert Jenrick has said it's ludicrous to claim Nigel Farage is stoking division over the death of Henry Novak. The Reform MP says Mr Farage has shown leadership by calling for everyone to be treated equally before the law. It comes after ministers accused him of exploiting the case and inflaming tensions. Also this morning, new messages show Sir Keir Starmer's top aide told Lord Mandelson he was so sorry after he was fired over his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. The texts from Darren Jones were not included in the published Mandelson files because they were reportedly on his old phone. Tube drivers have walked out again, second time this week, causing fresh disruption across London. The RMT says the dispute over a 4-day week is about fatigue and longer shifts. But TfL says the plan is voluntary and drivers can still stay on their existing arrangements. And in the last few minutes, Hezbollah has rejected a US-backed ceasefire deal between Israel and Lebanon. The group says any agreement must begin with a full Israeli withdrawal from Lebanese territory as Israel continues airstrikes in the south of the country. Those are the latest headlines. A full roundup with the news at 11.
Tune in to GB News Radio wherever you are. Online, on DAB digital radio, on TuneIn, on Radio Player on Nation Player and on your smart speaker. Just say, play GB News.
Now, still ahead, a report says that British women, are the angriest in Europe. Who'd have thought it? And looking around the studio, I think that is absolutely right. And some might even say Britain's angriest woman's in the studio. I'm not going to say whether it's Miriam or Cara Malone. I think you can work that out for yourself.
I think it could be a tie.
This is Britain's Newsroom on GB News.
Morning, welcome to your latest weather update from the Met Office here on GB News. It's a day of showers, plenty of them, heavy ones particularly across the south where hail and thunder are also likely, and some gusty winds too. That means the showers will tend to zip through, but a good day for puddle jumping or rainbow spotting. Across Scotland, the showers will be quite slow moving, so here the rainfall could really build up as we go through the day. Whereas in the south, as I said, with the gusty winds, the showers will tend to come and go, and there will be some sunny spells between those showers, which will see temperatures up into the high teens, maybe squeaking close to 20 Celsius, but feeling cooler with the breeze and certainly feeling cooler when the showers come along. So a good day for the gardens as those showers continue to replenish the water butts, particularly across the south, where, as I say, the showers could be pretty intense, some hail and thunder mixed in. By the evening, some drier slots revealing a little bit of sunshine, but the showers chugging through across Northern Ireland, through the Irish Sea into northwest England. Further north, the winds are lighter. So as I said at the start, the showers could be quite slow moving here. Could end up being quite a wet day for some, particularly across Aberdeenshire. Temperature-wise here, struggling a little bit to get much above 13 or 14 Celsius. Through the evening and overnight, staying showery, but the showers will tend to fade, certainly across many central and eastern parts. Good chance of largely clear skies over eastern England, so much of Wales after midnight. But the showers will certainly keep going across Scotland. Temperature-wise, most towns and cities holding up in double digits. On to Friday, it is broadly speaking another day of sunshine and showers, but not as many showers. A better chance of seeing longer dry spells, and indeed parts of eastern Scotland, eastern England may not see many showers at all. And even further west, the showers won't be as intense, certainly won't be as frequent. Some clouds certainly will build up through the day, but many places seeing at least some spells of sunshine. Temperatures maybe a degree or so down, but the winds at least a touch lighter on Friday.
Thank you, Britain, for the thousands of you who are becoming friends of GB News every week.
You're not only watching and listening to our programmes, you're becoming part of them too.
Good morning. This is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. The A702 is restricted at Easter Howgate due to an oil spill. On the M4 eastbound, congestion builds between Junction 27 High Cross and Junction 24 Coldra. The M62 westbound at Junction 19 in Rochdale has a collision causing 50-minute delays expected to clear by 11:47. The M25 in Surrey has a broken down vehicle between junctions 9 and 10, causing 15-minute delays. And on the trains, disruptions continue between Fareham and Southampton Central on Great Western Railway and South Western Railway services. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
It's 21 minutes to 11 and you're watching and listening to Britain's Newsroom.
On Saturday the 13th of June, the whole country will unite for Trooping the Colour, the official birthday of His Majesty the King. We would like to invite you to join us here in the studio from 10 a.m. for a special programme filled with all the pomp, pageantry and ceremony of one of the year's biggest royal events. To apply for tickets, scan the QR code on screen or visit gbnews.com/tickets. By the way, little into secret, I'm presenting that show
You are?
with
Well, there's your picture.
Camilla Tominey.
There you go. You'll be at the palace, won't you?
We will be at the palace.
And then there's going to be an audience here in the studio following along.
Yeah, and it really is that I think Britain at its best and the royal family at its best, and I think we'll probably see the King on his horse.
Let's hope for good weather. That'd be very good.
Absolutely.
Well, moving on now, more than a quarter of undergraduates say Hamas's October the 7th attacks on Israel were defensible.
Shocking. Research suggests students are more likely than the wider public to view the attacks as justifiable.
They also appear to be more supportive of reparations to former slave owners and unilateral nuclear disarmament.
So are university campuses at the centre of culture war, or is this simply a generational divide, or is it what they're being taught?
Well, joining us now is the Chief Executive for the Higher Education Policy Institute, Nick Hillman. Nick, good morning. Thank you so much for joining us on Britain's Newsroom. Did these results surprise you at all?
Yes, they did surprise me, actually. So we conducted this poll just simply to find out what students think. And I guess I started assuming they would be very close to the sort of progressive left on most issues. And certainly the most popular political party among students is the Green Party, for example. But actually what we found was a much more complex picture, much more nuanced picture. So when it came to capital punishment, students are pretty much where the rest of the adult population are, that half of them think capital punishment should be reintroduced and half of them disagree. But then on other issues, and you mentioned a couple, reparations on the slave trade and unilateral rather than multilateral nuclear disarmament, they were very, very much sort of aligned with, you know, perhaps we could call it the progressive left positions. So it really depended on what issue you went with.
I mean, I'm sort of not surprised about the reparations, and but I'm surprised about their view on capital punishment. But I'm pretty horrified that clever people who are going to be our leaders, politicians, doctors, teachers, seem to think what happened on October 7th with Hamas was justifiable in any shape or form, when most, I would have thought, sensible people would realise it was an appalling massacre of innocent people, many of them students enjoying a pop festival.
It will indeed so. And of course, Hamas is a proscribed terrorist organisation. I mean, I should say that although students are much more likely to have some sympathy for what Hamas did on the 7th of October 2023 than adults as a whole, it's still, it's about 28% of them. So it's just over 1 in 4. So it's not the case the majority of students supported what Hamas did, but it's much higher than it is among the population as a whole, where it's running about 4 or 5%. I think we should remember the students. This was a survey of young students. This was a survey of people who are very often not long out of school. And there are a lot of don't knows to that answer as well, that question as well. And it may partly reflect a lack of information, a lack of, those attacks, for example, wouldn't have been typically covered in the history curriculum when they were at school. So but I think it's why these polls are so useful, because only know what they think can you then open up the conversation and say, well, is that a reasonable perspective to have on this particular issue?
Nick, how much do you think this has to do with the way that young people get their information about history and politics these days? There was a survey out by the Society for the History of Totalitarianism last year that showed that I think only 1 in 4 young people knew anything about Nelson, compared to almost everybody over the age of 60. Similar statistics for other historical figures. And actually, we don't teach history compulsory in school beyond 13 or 14 now, and some of the history that we do teach is very much not about British history, or certainly not about celebrating British history. Do you think that that has something to do with the disparity between young people's views of the world and older people's?
Well, look, I love history. I'm a former history teacher in secondary school, and my son is at this very moment sitting his history GCSE at his school, and I'm very pleased he's doing it. But only a small minority, as you say, of 15, 16-year-olds are taking GCSE history today. Most of them reject it and don't take it, and so that is a problem. I completely agree with you on that. But and it's also a problem, of course, that a lot of their news comes from maybe TikTok, other things, rather than robust news outlets. And I think it's our job as parents, as educators, to broaden their horizons and to make sure the reason we did this poll was because we want the people who run universities to know what their students think, so that they can think about what debates to put on campus, how to cover some of these issues with their students. And so I hope it will prove useful to universities, and hopefully they'll know more now about what their students think. And students, of course, change all the time, because they're only there for 3 years. So you have to be constantly surveying students to find out what this generation thinks, because it's different to what people thought 5 years ago and will think in 5 years in the future.
Just briefly, Nick, why has history become so unfashionable?
Well, I mean, I think Miriam made a good point about how it's not compulsory at GCSE, and we see that that really matters. I mean, there's been an even bigger problem with languages. When Tony Blair stopped languages being compulsory at GCSE, they fell off a cliff. And actually, there's a lot of sort of less formal historical stuff that's very interesting. You know, people do watch a lot of history documentaries, for example, but they tend to do that later on in life. And it's certainly the case that history needs to be brought to life in school. And I wouldn't tar all history teachers and everything that's going on with the same brush. I think, you know, there's lots of different history curricula out there. Even universities do different things. I was listening to Simon Heffer speak at an event the other day, talking about the history course that he runs, and one of my local universities, the University of Buckingham, which is completely different to what goes on in history at many other universities. So I would urge people to, you know, look, who are interested in taking history further, to look broadly at the full range of courses and options out there. And I think it's incumbent on all of us to talk to young people, including our own children, about these issues in the round.
Nick Hillman, fascinating. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. And Andrew, I think that same report that I referred to said that we are the only country in the OECD where history teaching is not compulsory to 16. And in many countries, you have to learn your own country's history until you're 18.
Well, why?
It's a big difference.
Yeah, I think it's a shame. I have to say, when I was doing my O-levels, it wasn't compulsory history.
It wasn't?
No, it was an option, and I chose it because I loved it, and I did it to A-level.
Yeah.
And I loved it. So I think it is very sad that people don't... They should know, at least till 16, they should be learning about the history of this country.
Yes, and I think because of the lack of teaching, there's such a desire amongst people slightly older than that, and Nick referred to it then, for an understanding. And you know the Rest is History podcast with Tom Holland and Dominic Sandbrook? That's 15 million downloads a month, and the vast majority are under 40. So there's a real desire out there to know what's happening.
It's filling the vacuum created by the education system.
Maybe
Now, up next, find out how the Premier League winning team Arsenal has supported some very sweet donkeys. It's so charming. I spotted this somewhere the other day and I thought, we've got to do this on Britain's Newsroom. And why? They're doing it in Norwich, by the way. There we are, there's the donkeys. You're listening on the radio.
I can't say we don't cover the top news stories on this show.
Who needs a World Cup when we've got this heartwarming story about donkeys and Arsenal? Oh, and they're eating the Arsenal socks. We're going to tell you all about it. Here's the European weather forecast. Isn't it sweet?
I forecast a perfect holiday in the sun.
Weather looking good then?
For sure, and no worries about our travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
Things are warming up over Italy and Croatia as we head towards the weekend. Plenty of sunshine across Spain and Portugal also. Brisk winds, but sunny spells likely for Madeira and the Canary Islands. There's lots of sunshine for the Algarve and most of the Spanish costas. Just a small chance of a bit more cloud in the east and perhaps one or two showers. A bit more cloud over central Italy on Friday, but that should be clearing away. And as I said at the start, temperatures likely to be on the rise in Rome and also Dubrovnik as we go through the weekend.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
I guess with football, it's very tribal. It's one communal identity with a shared purpose. And you're looking out on a match. You're not really looking at each other. So it's a very outwards display of something which is impacting them emotionally. But yeah, you're all together. You all want the same thing. That shared tribalism enables them to express those emotions that well. But what I think is great is that then they can recognise they have those emotions and maybe they can lean in sometimes on those to other things which affect them more individually.
And Joe, of course, it's not just football. There are many other sports where
people of both genders get really stuck in, but men in particular, as an average in this country in terms of big spectator sports. And do you think that they sort of reveal and fulfill a role of sort of a primal instinct in a lot of men, of sort of belonging to something bigger than them, which would have been, facilitated in generations gone by, perhaps by work, by soldiering, by church, and with the decline of these communal experiences, sport now fulfills that role?
Groups of people that are driven by one purpose and one faith and one idealism, and there they all are together, and their emotions are really close to the surface. I mean, perhaps the downside slightly of sport is that if you take it really to heart, if you have a bad match and you lose, or your team loses, that can kind of impact some men for days on end. You know, they kind of go into not depression exactly, but certainly into a kind of spiral down into misery. So it has its downsides as well.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
It's 9 minutes to 11, and we are going to bring you the donkey story, but it has been slightly delayed, so please don't worry, we've not forgotten.
And it's been delayed because we've got some breaking news. The Prime Minister has accused Elon Musk of whipping up division in this country after the murder of Henry Novak.
We think we're going to bring you that clip now of the Prime Minister talking about Elon Musk.
Look, I think this is a tragic case, Henry Novak, and we have to start with Henry and his family. I mean, an incredible, kind, thoughtful, much-loved young man. Clearly, there are questions that need to be answered in relation to the policing in this case. The IOPC is looking at that. I think we need to let them get on with their job, but we really need to listen to Henry's family, because they're asking us as politicians, as leaders, not to use his case to whip up division, not to cause disturbances. We have to listen to them. They're grieving. They've lost their son. And so everything I've tried to do in relation to this case has been grounded in what they must be going through. Yes, we need to answer those questions. Yes, I think it's right that there may need to be changes, and we shouldn't shy away from that, not for one moment. But how we conduct ourselves now as politicians is really important, and I call on all politicians, to just listen again to what the family are asking of us, which is to remain calm, to show the leadership that's needed here, and not allow this case to be used to whip up division.
You talk about all politicians. Nigel Farage has said in his latest social media video that police guidance documents are telling police officers to deal with ethnic minorities in a preferential way over white people. Do you have any concerns about the training police receive?
I think looking at the footage in this case, and it's really harrowing to watch, really hard to watch. I know many people would have seen it. It's really hard not to be moved by it. It's clear there are questions to be asked, and the IOPC is looking at that. I think it's right that the National Police Chiefs Council is looking at some of the documents that they've got and reviewing those. I think that's the right thing to do. It needs to be done properly, needs to be done led by the evidence. I do think there are questions like, how do allegations of racism, accusations of racism inform police decisions in cases like this? We do need to ask those questions. I accept that, but it's how we conduct ourselves now that matters, and always remembering what Henry's family are saying, which is, please don't use this to whip up division. I mean, it's incredible. They want others never to have to go through this. I have to say, as a human being, whether I could react in the way they have, I'm humbled by them, and I'll heed what they ask for, which is responsible, calm leadership.
Something else in the headlines today, Chief Secretary commiserating with Peter Mandelson on the day you sacked him as the US Ambassador. What's your response to that?
We just had a big process in Parliament where many documents have been put before Parliament. It's probably the biggest exercise of transparency ever by any government. That is over now and the material's there for everybody to see.
Why didn't it come out in the original tranche of documents?
Well, we went through a process. It was a transparency process, and the point of that really was to put everything before Parliament, and people could then see the material and make their minds up.
Is that end of poll on to read?
Well, that was the Prime Minister.
How many times did he use the word process?
I don't know.
Mr. Process.
Yeah.
I think the significant revelations from the latest Manson leaks is, OK, so Darren Jones commiserates with Manson the day he's been said, oh, you did such a good job, Peter, is the fact that he was scathing about the Chancellor of the Exchequer, Rachel Reeves, and Johnny Reynolds, who was then the business secretary. The fact they're in charge of the growth agenda, he said to Manson, hardly fills you with confidence, does it?
No.
And the Chancellor is still there in that job. That's significant. I mean, that's going to be uncomfortable when they're next sitting opposite each other in the cabinet.
I know, when they all know what's been said about each other.
And what they all know, that what everybody thinks about the Prime Minister, which is, frankly, he's useless, clueless, doesn't have a vision, doesn't have a clue.
Well, Keir Starmer, very wisely, had switched on disappearing messages on his WhatsApps. I think probably everybody else will do now.
They certainly will. So Darren Jones has been consoling Lord Mandelson, as we said earlier, about his sacking. Find out which other senior Labour figures he's criticised. This is Britain's Newsroom, Britain's favourite morning show on GB. Darren Jones, by the way, some people thought he would make a picture of the Labour leadership.
Yes, that was rumoured later last week. It will not. Well, all that's coming up after the weather.
We're counting down to a spectacular summer. It's your chance to win £76,543 and 21 pence in totally tax-free cash. A lump sum that you could have in time to splash out with this summer. And because it's tax-free, you get to keep every single penny. For a chance to win, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB21 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 26th of June. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pulled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
Some people enjoy lazy Sunday mornings, but not me. What's the truth of the matter?
So that's a very live question. Would you support him if he waters down these plans?
Before the spin sets in, I'll be getting to the truth.
This is personal.
No soft questions, no easy answers.
It's one thing if the state has rules in this country. It's another thing whether the police and others actually police them.
Setting the agenda and holding those in power to account.
You can't really blame her if the system is set up this way.
You will not want to miss it, trust me. The Camilla Tominey Show, Sundays from 9:30, only on GB News.
Bold. They are under no illusion.
Ray.
Are you a human trafficker?
Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get us on the BBC. Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines. The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it? From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos. What I'm going to do now is they are throwing things up the cars. Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie's tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel. As soon as it hits 11 and the headlines come in,
the Late Edition brings you the breaking news from all the front pages.
Because the news is going to happen.
So get a head start today.
Patrick Christie's tonight, Late Edition.
Alex Armstrong tonight, Late Edition. From 11 o'clock every night.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I've been in Westminster for a long time. But I know that though power may be here, its effect on people's lives is across the whole of the country. We may be where rules are made, but it's where they're implemented that matters. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for forthright and frank discussion on where Britain has come from, where it's going, and where it will end up. That's State of the Nation, Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Vox Populi, Vox Dei.
It's 11 o'clock on Thursday, the 4th of June, live across the United Kingdom, Britain's Newsroom with Andrew Pearce and Miriam Cates.
Well, the two-tier policing row rages on.
If we don't end two-tier policing in this country, we will turn millions of ordinary, law-abiding citizens against the police and against the authorities in this country.
Well, that's Nigel Farage doubling down on those two-tier policing claims after the murder of Henry Novak and despite criticism from politicians at Westminster.
Exploiting this tragedy to create grievance and division would be wrong in any circumstances, but to do it when the family are expressly saying, please don't, is unforgivable.
And the Prime Minister also accuses Elon Musk of trying to whip up division in this country. We need to tell him who we are as Great Britain, says the PM.
And are we experiencing diversity by force? Well, Hampshire police officers admit that they felt controlled and pressured during anti-racism training. Well, their Chief Constable Alexis Boone has apologised for what happened to Henry Novak.
We have said we are sorry for handcuffing and arresting Henry at that time.
And in an exclusive interview, former police officer Christy Hill, who was wrongly identified in this case and then forced to move into a safe house, has told GB News this.
And I'm in a position where I'm genuinely scared. Like, there's a real fear for my safety here if I was to go out.
And a crackdown on student visas. The government's new traffic light system aims to stop the use of study visas as a backdoor route to claiming asylum.
We need our immigration system to be controlled so that it's not being abused, so people aren't coming on study or work visas to then claim asylum.
And a shocking survey this morning shows over a quarter of student undergraduates think the Hamas October 7th massacres were defensible. They include the president of the Oxford Union, no less, Awa Arias.
And socks for donkeys. Find out why the farmyard favourites have received top-flight leg protection from Arsenal footballers this summer.
You must be joking. Sorry, I didn't write this. Sainsbury's are ditching brown eggs. It's not in an equality so much, but it's a part of the Ed Miliband's mad net zero charge. What sort of nonsense is this? That's the new campaign slogan. Brown eggs matter.
I still haven't quite worked out why they're worse for the environment.
Something to do with... Karen Maloney's an expert on this. She's going to tell us all about this, but it's something to do with science. Apparently, white eggs produce more carbon. Of course they do. Look, I like my brown eggs.
Absolutely. Well, we couldn't eat meat the other day. Now we can't eat eggs.
He wants us to restrict meat, dairy products, and now they're going to be telling us what sort of eggs you can put in your protein.
I think there's been a big backlash against this veganism. Certainly amongst young people, especially young men, they are now desperate to pile on protein, however they can get it, whether it's eggs, chicken. I spent a fortune on chicken.
I must have a bacon roll just to upset Ed Miliband.
Absolutely. Make sure you eat it live on air and show him how it should be done.
Exactly.
I think you'd use a knife and fork, wouldn't you?
I probably would,
and an
actually.
napkin.
Certainly, with a little bit of brown sauce too.
Absolutely.
We would, as ever, like you to tell us what you think, so why don't you send your views and post your comments by visiting
gbnews.com/your say. But first, here's the news with Sam Francis.
Andrew, Miriam, thank you very much. Good morning to you. Just after 11 o'clock, well, the top story, Robert Jenrick has defended Nigel Farage's response to the death of Henry Novak, saying it is ludicrous to suggest he is stoking division. It comes after violent clashes in Southampton, where police clung to riot shields during protests over the way Henry was treated by officers after he had been fatally stabbed. In the Commons yesterday, Nigel Farage argued the case shows public trust in equal treatment by police is breaking down. And he told the Prime Minister the issue goes beyond one case, claiming police guidance is encouraging officers to treat different communities in different ways.
We're living under two-tier policing. The instructions that are given to police officers from police bosses are clear and written down in ink. It says you must treat different ethnic groups in different ways.
I'm really shocked that he pretends to have respect for Henry's family and then acts in this way. His response has been to appeal for rage. Rage. That's his response to a father who's lost his son and ask for that not to happen. Exploiting this tragedy to create grievance and division.
Well, as you heard there, Sir Keir Starmer rejecting the accusations from Nigel Farage completely, accusing him instead of using Henry's death to fuel grievance despite the family's plea for calm. Robert Jenrick, though, saying this morning that criticism against Nigel Farage is wrong and insisting he has not encouraged division. Instead, he says Reform wants to bring forward an Equal Treatment Act, which would require police to treat people the same, regardless of their skin colour. Also this morning, new messages appear to show Sir Keir Starmer's top aide told Lord Mandelson he was so sorry after he was fired as US ambassador. Reports in The Spectator claim Darren Jones also told Peter Mandelson he had been doing a great job and worked wonders with Donald Trump. The messages were not included, though, in the published Mandelson files because they were reportedly on Jones's old mobile phone. It comes after Darren Jones apologised in Parliament, saying he had treated Peter Mandelson differently because he believed him to have power and influence within the Labour Party. Tube drivers have walked out again, the second time this week, causing fresh disruption across London. Some lines have no trains running, while others are facing delays and part suspensions. The dispute centres on TfL's plans for a voluntary 4-day working week, where drivers who opt in would work longer shifts over 4 days instead of 5. The RMT says that could increase fatigue in what is a safety-critical role, but TfL says the changes are voluntary and drivers can stay on their current arrangements. And Hezbollah has rejected the US-backed ceasefire deal between Israel and Lebanon, throwing the now fragile agreement into doubt. The Iran-backed militant group says it has formally told Lebanon's president it will not accept the deal unless Israel fully withdraws from Lebanese territory. It says any future agreement must also include the return of displaced residents, the reconstruction efforts of the area and the release of Lebanese prisoners. The deal depended on Hezbollah stopping attacks on Israel, but the group says it was not part of any peace talks. Those are the latest headlines. More news in half an hour. Next, a look at the markets.
Taking the ups and downs in our stride. Stilts Home Lifts sponsors the GB News Finance Report.
Just gone 7 minutes past 11. The markets for you. The pound will buy $1.3430 and €1.1564. The price of gold is £3,323 per ounce. The FTSE 100's at 10,308 points, and I'll leave that there to see if Miriam and Andrew can read numbers as well as I can.
GB News Finance Report, brought to you by Stilts Home Lifts.
Well, Sam is so desperate to
That's
get
a
back to
challenge.
his bacon sandwich that he's asking me to read the finance predictions. The pound will buy you $1.3430, €1.1564, and now he's deleted it from the screen. So I'm not going to carry on. Look it up on Google.
Yeah.
Welcome back to Britain's Newsroom. We're live across the United Kingdom on GB News with Andrew Pearce and Miriam Cates.
Well, Sir Keir Starmer has spoken this morning. He used the word process about 9 times in a minute. He's accused the Chief Executive, Elon Musk, the world's richest man, of whipping up division because he's been tweeting over the Henry Novak murder.
Well, this comes after police officers have admitted to feeling controlled and pressured under diversity policies.
Well, there's questions being raised over Hampshire police handcuffing 18-year-old Henry Novak as he lay down. Not so much questions, outrage being expressed by just about anybody.
Well, the police chief, Alexis Boone, has apologised for the decision, but he denies allegations of two-tier policing. However, Reform UK leader Nigel Farage took to Twitter last night to say this.
If we don't end two-tier policing in this country, we will turn millions of ordinary, law-abiding citizens against the police and against the authorities in this country.
Well, that followed a day of fierce criticism from the London Mayor, Sir Sadiq Khan, Baroness Doreen Lawrence, the mother of Stephen Lawrence, and the Prime Minister at Prime Minister's Question Time. Take a listen.
Exploiting this tragedy to create grievance and division would be wrong in any circumstances, but to do it when the family are expressly saying, please don't, is unforgivable.
Well, we're going to talk now to Amandeep Singh, who is a Sikh educator at the Basics of Sikh Charity. Good morning to you, Amandeep.
Good morning. Thank you for having the show.
We don't have many Sikhs on the show, so it's a pleasure to have you on. We did speak to a member of your community the other day who expressed his horror and revulsion at the way some people may now view the Sikh community after the senseless killing of Henry Novak. Can you tell us, Amandeep, a little bit about Sikhism, what you stand for?
Look, first and foremost, just to echo the sentiments of the gentleman that you just referred to, the Sikh community has lost sleep over this incident. I think the first out of the bat to condemn unequivocally the actions of the murderer of Henry Novak have been those from the Sikh community. There is a feeling of betrayal and outrage. We're a community that are celebrated in this country as having properly integrated into the British value system. My grandfather came to this country in the army, and to see this legacy, this distinguished and honourable legacy of our history tarnished in this way has been something that has had the whole community completely beside itself. Aside from community feelings, as a father, I was actually driven sick to my stomach, quite literally. I was literally driven sick to my stomach, having to think about the Novak family and just the idea of them having to wake up this morning and putting it simply, their son isn't here. It's been an absolute nightmare to try and empathise and put ourselves in the thoughts and prayers that are of the Novak family.
Amandeep, I was just reading this morning about the history of Sikhism in the UK, and I didn't realise quite how far back it went. And actually, apparently, according to Google, the first high-profile Sikh in the UK was a Maharaja, the last ruler of the Sikh Empire, who was exiled to England in 1854. And ever since then, so getting on for 200 years, Sikhs have been building community within the UK, and as you said, are seen to be one of the most well-integrated communities in the UK. Do you think this incident, even though it really had nothing to do with the fact that the murderer was a Sikh, do you think this incident will actually damage that history, will damage people's views of what Sikhs believe and do?
Well, it's very interesting that you allude to our history here. As I mentioned, my grandfather came to this country as part of the Allied forces. And Winston Churchill, who is perhaps the most decorated prime minister that this country has ever had, he spoke in Parliament and forever enshrines the sentiments that laid the foundations of those first Sikhs that came to the country. What does he say about Sikhs? He says that the British public, the British people will will for a long time be indebted to the Sikhs. Twice we have asked them to stand with us, and twice they have answered our call. 80,000 Sikhs died fighting for the freedoms that now we freely enjoy in this country. 200,000 lost their limbs. We were awarded 14 military Victoria Crosses, which is the highest number proportionately of any community that exists in this country. Wow. That's the highest honour, being awarded in the highest amount to a community that I'm just grateful to be a part of, that I'm grateful to have a link to by way of history. I take no credit for that. All we can do is stand on the shoulders of those great giants that have created those freedoms that we enjoy. So in answer to your question, yes, it has been deplorable to have the whole community, which has been here for hundreds of years, dragged through the mud. And I might add, I don't wish to take... It was very upsetting to read the Daily Mail refer to this guy as a Sikh killer. Now, I want to make it very clear, this murderer has been ousted from the community prior to him committing this heinous crime. He was kicked out of the Sikh temple. He was arrested, and he was kicked out of the temple and barred from coming to the Sikh temple in Southampton, as I understand it. But what was really upsetting was the way that this has been politicised. If you look at the Daily Mail, they refer to him as a Sikh killer. Now, respectfully, Jimmy Savile, who's probably the most prolific paedophile this country's ever known, was never referred to as a Roman Catholic paedophile. Prince Andrew, who has established connections to Jeffrey Epstein, has never once been referred to as a Church of England affiliate. And I just think that's really irresponsible, childish. I hope that the people of this country can recognise that that is just political rhetoric being funneled through a newspaper, when really the news is supposed to be that subject matter that should be put out there fairly and justly. And that really did upset me, because you recognise that he's been ousted by the community, Miriam, but the Daily Mail, who are supposed to be doing their research, have done the exact opposite.
Amandeep, can I ask you about the kirpan? Now, that is something that's very integral to part of your faith. It's that small ceremonial blade. Can you explain, Amandeep, why it is important for some of you to always wear the kirpan? And are you wearing yours now?
Correct. Yes, I am. I've taken an oath to defend all and anybody, and to serve all and anybody that might come upon my path. This evening, as is the case most nights, me and my friends are going to be out in the streets of London serving the homeless with the Sikh Welfare and Awareness Team. We've been awarded awards from the Queen for doing so. And those freedoms and those obligations which we've taken oaths to protect and to stand for include the mandatory keeping of the Qurban, which is the article of faith, the Sikh ceremonial sword that is worn in this country for centuries without any incident. It is worn underneath my clothing. It's a small symbol and a reflection of my obligation, my oath, if you will, to stand up for all and any injustice. The roots of that come from our ninth Guru, who gave his life under a regime that was sweeping across India at the time, where there was a forceful conversion of everybody under the banner of Islam. The Mughals who had entered India were set upon bringing a forced regime of conversion, and it was in response to that the 10th Guru said no, that if you're going to be a Sikh, then you'll have the right to stand up and defend against injustice. And so it was mandated upon the Sikhs that all baptised Sikhs that should wear this Qurban. Winston Churchill famously said that if you're going to join the armed forces, we will not accept any Sikhs. We will not have you. We will not have you unless you are adorned with that sacred symbol of faith. So it was actually mandated by the British that if you're going to call yourself a Sikh, you have to be a Sikh in spirit and in form. And it was actually mandated under the armed forces.
Can I ask you, when you say it's a small blade, Amandeep, how big is the blade? The Qurban that I'm wearing is a very small ceremonial sword. I'm a practicing lawyer. When I go to court, it's underneath my shirt. It's underneath my suit. If you want to get into specifics for some particular reason, I can go. Well, it's just some people are saying politically now that even respecting your religious faith, that actually it's an exception that's made for your faith, that you can have around your neck or under your clothing a blade, which is potentially a lethal weapon. So I think people are interested to know how big it is. Even though I hate what you say, it's been part of your faith with no difficulty forever. And I quite accept the monster who killed Henry Novak was just that, a monster. Nothing to do with his faith.
Well, I'm glad that you said that. Why the Daily Mail have read it? And literally the first two words in the article are Sikh killer. So I'm glad that you've acknowledged that. It's an interesting question that you've raised. That it's an interesting point that you've made, Andrew, and I welcome you for making that. That forever, this has been something that has never been brought into disrepute. That's a big statement. Every community has bad apples, but for the Sikh community, which has a long and established and a distinguished history in this country, to have no incidents. In a group of, we're 500,000 strong in the UK, to have no incidents of that having been brought into disrepute, that's your answer there. We look at our history. If you want to look at what the present dangers are, we can look at our history, historical and recent, to see there's been no incidents. I mean, it was quite embarrassing for the Hampshire Police to come on the radio yesterday. I think it was an LBC. You'll have to forgive me. There's been lots of media representation, so you'll forgive me if I've saw wrong. And he was just destroyed. Somebody asked him, they said, can you give us one incident where the Qurban has been used in a way that you're now trying to rally up, to whip up hatred and fear? And he said, he just stumbled his words and said no. So let's look at the facts. Let's look at our cold, hard, and distinguished history. This is not an exception. This is an honour and a privilege that has been bestowed upon us from the highest level, and it's been maintained at that level and celebrated at that level for hundreds of years.
All right, Amandeep, thank you so much for coming on and being so frank. And thank you. Amandeep Sikh is a Sikh educator at the Basics of Sikh charity.
Very interesting. Well, we've got some breaking news for you now. Our GB News political editor, Christopher Hope, joins us. Chris, over to you.
Yeah, Kemi Badenoch, the Tory leader, has just met with the family of Henry Novak. There's a statement put out by the Tory leader moments ago. She says this: she's met with Lucy, Mark and Katie, that's Henry's mother, father and stepmother. Their courage is extraordinary, she says. They've endured the most appalling loss. It's a life sentence for them. They've also faced the agonising decision to release the harrowing body-worn camera footage, knowing how painful it would be and how strongly people would react. So the family agreed for that footage to be released. They did so because they want truth, accountability and change. They also asked, says Kemi Badenoch, that we work across political parties and religions to rebuild trust in the police. That trust has been broken because of what happened, and I agree with them on that. Kemi Badenoch goes on, we must be prepared to examine carefully and seriously religious practices or exemptions that permit the carrying of dangerous weapons in public. You've been talking to your Sikh guest just now, and other activities that are not conducive to the public good. We also need to examine where the law needs to change. She goes on, Henry's family do not want anger to tear communities apart. They want a family who have friends across faith and race, and so did Henry. His family wants his memory to bring our society together. Everyone knows I have strong views about how we should deal with equality under the law. What the family agreed with me on is that we need to bring common sense back, and that's what we should all be fighting for. She continues and concludes, I promise the family that we will work to ensure there's a positive legacy for Henry out of this tragedy, and that's my focus now. And this goes to the heart of the politics of the response to that appalling video, the last moments of Henry Novak as he bled away into the gravel outside that house. The family have met with Kemi Badenoch, not with Nigel Farage. They are supporting what Kemi Badenoch is trying to do, she says here, to build a positive legacy for Henry out of this tragedy. And that goes to the heart of the political response to this. Is it to talk about two-tier policing and division and talk about the possibility of further problems in Southampton, or try to bring communities together?
Fascinating.
Let's hope. Very interesting.
Really interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I thought the Sikh guest we had on just now was absolutely
terrific.
Superb. And he made such a good point about the Kirpan. It's caused absolutely no problems.
Yeah.
It would be a real overreaction to change the law on that, when actually the killer had already been ostracised from the community.
Yeah.
He could have used a kitchen knife to murder Henry Novak. There's nothing to do with the religious sensibility.
Yeah, and what we know is the knife he used was not the Kirpan.
Indeed.
It was an 8-inch blade.
So he murdered Henry Novak because he was a murderer.
Yeah.
And he could have carried a kitchen knife if he wanted to, wouldn't
exactly.
he? What good would it do
to
ostracise a community that has been so integral, actually, to British history for the last
we had Suella
200
Brabham
years.
on the other day, who's now with Reform, and she said the Kirpan has to go.
Well, Robert Jenrick actually announced it on this programme on Friday when we were interviewing him on Britain's Newsroom. But I do think that is a distraction. That is not what happened here.
Now, up next, Sainsbury's are going to ditch brown eggs. It's all to reach net zero goes. Justice for brown eggs, we say. And I still want to eat a bacon sandwich because Ed Miliband says we've eaten too much bacon, too much dairy. Get lost. I'm going to enjoy that bacon sandwich.
Well, we'll be going through that and more with two people who surely love their eggs and bacon, Carol Malone and Nigel Nelson. This is Britain's News.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome to Free Speech Nation with me, Josh Howard. This is the show where each week we see what's happening in the world of culture, current affairs and politics.
First we'll say, welcome to the UK.
And we're not afraid to use our free speech so that you can use yours.
It's not controversial in the slightest to anyone who hasn't lost their mind.
Free Speech Nation, Sunday nights at 7 p.m, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At the stroke of midnight, the news doesn't stop, and neither do we.
Day in, day out. Forget stuffy late night TV shows. We're giving you a front row ticket to the centre of the political universe.
Because breaking news doesn't wait for the morning.
And neither do we. Join us for one of the most controversial and volatile times of politics in human history.
A very big story.
Big story over here.
You won't get this anywhere else. The Late Show live at midnight, every night.
Only on GB News.
Welcome back. It's 26 minutes past 11. You're watching Britain's Newsroom. It should be actually you were watching breakfast because Andrew is about to eat a bacon
Well, I've been
sandwich.
going on for 2 days about the outrageousness of Ed Miliband now telling us that we're eating too much dairy products, too much meat. He wants us to eat less sausages, less bacon, because, of course, we know what cows do, Carol.
Yeah, we do, yes.
And it
we can't
causes...
say that
no,
word,
we can't
though.
say that word.
No.
So I've been given a bacon roll.
Yeah.
And I'm going to eat
In
it.
fact, the person who's bought you that, you said it's the only thing he's ever bought you.
It is, the Ben Briscoe, the
Yeah,
boss.
he
He
has-
just bought
he
me
has
that.
bought us some
He did buy me some
sunglasses.
cheap sunglasses, which are so cheap, I couldn't...
I want to see you eat that because I bet you
Right.
can't do it any
I bet I
better
can.
than Miliband.
Do you remember when Ed Miliband did it?
wasn't-
Where's the photograph of Ed Miliband?
wasn't exactly graceful.
There it is. Now, this is how you eat them, Mr Miliband.
Here you go. This
Mm.
The message is don't get photographed eating.
Andrew Pearce.
Andrew.
And no one's
Veteran journalist and broadcaster.
Are you going to share it?
There you
Yeah,
go.
you're
You've
going to give
not
me
put anybody
a
off.
bit.
I'm
I'm
not
just
going
going
to share it.
You're not going to
I'm on me.
Oh.
Thank you. I've
That's
had
just-
my rich tea biscuits.
Delicious.
Typical that.
Brown sauce. The only way, Nigel, don't you think?
Absolutely. I like bacon. I like bacon sandwiches.
This place is like a cafe. There's a bit of half-eaten cake here, people.
Yeah.
They've got a big box of biscuits on the side, which
Yeah,
they go
Miriam
through
made the
every
cake.
day.
Miriam
Big-
made the cake.
Plus the bacon.
And do you know the
now.
cake's got a courgette in it?
Well, I bet yeah, because it's moist. It's
Exactly,
lovely.
like carrot cake. There you go. Well, Nigel, why...
I'm carrying on with my breakfast, if you don't
why
mind. Don't mind
are
me.
brown eggs not virtuous anymore?
Well, in fact, the difference between a brown egg and a white egg is actually negligible. So the idea that Sainsbury's can actually cut their carbon footprint by getting rid of brown eggs does sound a bit performative. So if Sainsbury's were really serious, what they would be doing would be, as Andrew's mentioned, red meat. You'd be discouraging people eating red meat. I mean, just looking up the figures, that a kilogram of eggs leaves about 4 kilograms of CO2. When it comes to lamb, that's 40. When it comes to beef, that's 60. So the answer is, and where all these recommendations came from was the Climate Change Committee rather than Ed Miliband directly. So what you should be doing is trying to make other foods more appetising, more affordable, encouraging people to eat them rather than try to ban them.
What we shouldn't be doing is listening to the Climate Change Committee. The only net zero here is the IQ of the loons who've come up with these stupid ideas. You know what? There are 36 big fossil fuel companies in the world, pumping out billions of tonnes of CO2 every day. And the likes of Miliband is telling us not to eat brown eggs, or the Climate Change Committee, and
Too much milk.
too much
cheese.
and not to eat. You know, most of us
What do you want to do with all the cows? You're going to put them all down?
Well, that's the point. And what's going to happen to the chickens that lay
What
brown
is the
eggs?
cow population of this country?
Well,
I'm going to
I
Google
love a
it. It
cow.
must be enormous.
I just love a cow. And the thing is, what is this going to
Did you
mean?
get that quote
Stop
from Graham
laughing,
Malone?
listen,
I
Casey,
love a cow.
because this is bad for the farmers.
Discuss.
What's going to happen to farmers
Sounds like the Cow Appreciation
who
Society.
produce brown eggs? This is disgusting.
I think, you know, of course there are health reasons for eating less red meat, certainly. But Do you think that
P.S. eating a sandwich?
By the way, there are 9 million cattle and calves in the UK.
And we're not going to get rid of them.
We're going to get rid of them.
We're not going to get rid of them. It's just, it's shock. This is virtually.
Shouldn't it be of more concern to Ed Miliband how much food we import? Because at least eggs and beef produced in this country are not having to be transported around the world.
Yeah, but it's all about the whole holistic approach to this idea of net zero. So, I mean, if it works out that we're talking about a 1,400 quid reduction in our bills, that the idea is to get rid of this sort of the carbon we've got at the moment, 87% down by 2050. That goes along with everything else. People, for instance, now are turning to electric cars. That the registrations are up 16,000 in March on those alone. So
Nigel,
people are moving in the right direction.
This is nonsensical workery. You know, in terms of agriculture in this country, it accounts for 11% of our carbon emissions, only 11%. And when you consider that we only contribute 1% of the world's global emissions, it is negligible. It is stupid, and it's asking people to take responsibility for that. And people say, "Oh, if you do a little bit, it'll make a difference." This will make no difference.
But emissions are cumulative.
And did we mention the supermarket who's doing this, by the way? I don't think we actually did. Did you actually say Sainsbury's? You should be ashamed of yourself, Sainsbury's. In fact, the people at the top of Sainsbury's, this should be looked at.
But Carol, emissions are cumulative, and we are the fourth biggest polluter in the world.
No, we're not.
We're
not.
We are if you take the accumulation.
You're talking about per capita. It's not.
No, I'm not. I'm talking about since the Industrial Revolution.
Well, in which case we are not.
America comes first, then it's Russia, then it's China.
No,
there isn't. But the whole thing is the idea that we bear some responsibility for it. We ought to acknowledge.
But the trouble is, Nigel, like climate change, it is obviously happening. It's almost certainly man-made, but it's also we can mitigate against it. And for example,
we are.
The number of people dying in natural disasters has been reduced by 98% in the last 100 years. And cold weather kills more people than hot weather, so actually fewer people are dying heat-related deaths now. So it's not that climate change isn't an issue, it's not that we shouldn't do something about it, but we can mitigate against it. It's not the end of the world, unlike some other...
Well, it might be if you lived in the Maldives and you found that suddenly it wasn't there anymore because the sea came over the top of it.
Like, surely
that's not
human history is
they
one
do.
of migration.
And migration is the problem,
But the much bigger problem that nobody is talking about is the collapse in fertility rate that mean that Korea, for example, are going to lose 80% of their population in 2 generations. I mean, that is a far bigger problem going down the line.
We have a problem in this country with that,
we
too.
are under pressure of time. We have to talk about this survey which shows that British women are the angriest in the world. And there is a distinct... Is it true, Nigel, in the survey it said that Cara Malone is the angriest?
By far the angriest I've ever come across.
I just said to Nigel outside there that anger drives me. I mean, I'm angry every day about 100 things.
I know. I mean, your poor husband.
Me going.
Your poor husband.
No, I'm not angry at him, although I am.
Well, you are normally.
Yeah, sometimes.
Poor Nino. Call him Nino. Tell us, Nino, when she wasn't angry with you.
I think anger is a driver. I think, and you look around at what's happening in this country today, there's lots to be angry about. And yes, I am angry.
It's also destructive, though, if not channelled positively.
Not to me, Miriam.
not to the person who is angry,
It might be destructive to the person I'm angry with.
people around them, perhaps.
Carol's thriving on it.
No, the people around me might
Why are British women meant to be angry, according to this peculiar survey?
The NHS apparently is one of the reasons.
I also think, yes, I agree, because apparently, according to this survey, the level of anger amongst British women has jumped by 47% in a year, whereas for other countries, it's fluctuated a small amount. So I think there's something wrong with how they collect the data, and I think you should carry on eating your bacon.
Do you think Labour women must be angry that they still, Nigel, have not picked a woman leader in 120
Well, they should be.
years?
It is time for a woman leader of the Labour Party. You're absolutely right.
Well,
it's not going to be, and it's not going to be one because there's not one even in the race.
No, well, not at the moment.
To our panel, we've now got
I'm going to carry on
never angry.
with my...
Never ever angry at all,
delicious.
except when he can't eat a bacon roll, which is Sam Francis, and he's here with your news update.
Very good morning to you. Just gone 11:30. The top story this hour. 2 men have been charged after disorder in Southampton following the murder of Henry Novak. The CPS says one man is charged with assaulting a police officer. Another is charged with violent disorder and possession of an offensive weapon. Robert Jenrick has said it is ludicrous to claim that Nigel Farage is stoking division over the death of Henry Novak. The Reform MP says Mr Farage has shown leadership by calling for everyone to be treated equally under the law. It comes after ministers accused him of exploiting the case and inflaming tensions. New messages show Sir Keir Starmer's top aide told Lord Mandelson he was so sorry after he was fired for his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. The texts from Darren Jones were not included in the published Mandelson files because they were reportedly on his old phone. Tube drivers have walked out for a second time this week, causing fresh disruption across London this morning. The RMT says the dispute over a 4-day working week is about fatigue and longer shifts. But TfL says the plan is voluntary and drivers can stay on their existing arrangements. And Hezbollah has rejected today a US-backed ceasefire deal between Israel and Lebanon. The group says any agreement must begin with a full Israeli withdrawal from Lebanese territory as Israel continues airstrikes in the south of the country. You're up to date at this hour. More news at 12.
Tune in to GB News Radio wherever you are. Online, on DAB digital radio, on TuneIn, on Radio Player, on Nation Player and on your smart speaker. Just say, play GB News.
Coming up at noon, we've got Good Afternoon Britain with Mark and Emily. They're here in the studio. What's coming up on the show?
We are indeed. Well, of course, we're going to be reflecting on the news that we were just talking about in the break, that Kemi Badenoch has gone to see Henry Novak's family.
Amazing.
Good on her, yeah.
Yeah, quite right too.
And she says the family want truth, accountability, and change.
Yes.
So unlike, Sir Keir Starmer, who appeared to be shutting down the likes of Nigel Farage as he opens up, a great deal of discussion on this particular issue.
The fact that the extraordinary statement by the father, the family agreeing for the release of the harrowing footage of the last moments of their son. Of course they want things to change. That's why all that stuff was put out there.
But Keir Starmer appears to be much more comfortable just attacking people for, in his words, whipping up division.
Yeah.
Whether that's Elon Musk, whether that's Nigel Farage, whether that's the far right, in quotation marks.
Prime Ministers.
Whoever it is, that's how he wants to...
But isn't asking for equal treatment for all the very opposite of division?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I know.
And of course, this is a personal tragedy, and we all want to respect the very difficult time that the family are obviously going through. But it's also a national issue.
It is.
If diversity guidance is causing the police to act in a way that, frankly, is completely unacceptable and putting people at risk. So I think we have to recognise this is a national issue, even though, at the same time, respecting their wishes.
Yeah.
Well, absolutely. And talking about division, I don't know if you've seen this debate on Twitter and social media. The website 5 Pillars, the Muslim website 5 Pillars, have put out a document, an article on how Muslims in Western countries can navigate LGBT Pride Month here in the UK. They've also had a massive go at Sadiq Khan as London Mayor for coming back from the Hajj, coming back from Mecca in Saudi Arabia, and then promoting LGBT and alcohol in this country. We're going to be speaking to the editor of that news website and finding out exactly what he thinks about, LGBT rights for one.
Well, gays are not welcome in the Muslim faith.
Well, yeah, I mean, the tough question is, does he believe that actually, that Islam is compatible with an evolved democratic society in the West? It doesn't appear to.
Well, the Bible says some pretty harsh things about. But Christianity, I think, has learnt.
It's had its reformations.
It has.
We have a lot of questions.
Fascinating.
Yes, I'm looking forward to that.
Lots of questions, very few answers.
Support the Green Party, then, who are, of course, extremely liberal on the question. Well, all that's coming up and more at midday, and we're going to be speaking to a former police officer who says that if we are to have policing without fear or favour, then now is the time for change.
This is Britain's Newsroom on GB News.
Hello, good morning. Welcome to your latest GB News weather update, brought to you from the Met Office. A cool day with blustery showers, some of these bringing some thunderstorms through today. Will be a drier day on Friday, though, for most of us. For the time being, we've got low pressure dominating our weather. We do have some occluded fronts wrapped around the area of low pressure, bringing the focus of some showers into this afternoon to more eastern areas. Eastern parts of Scotland, in particular, parts of southeast England could see some quite heavy showers that could last a little while, bringing that risk risk of thunder, possibly some hail as well. I think just about everywhere you'll probably see a shower through today. And with blustery westerly winds, it's going to be feeling relatively fresh. Temperatures in the mid to high teens. You'll need the sunshine to feel the benefit of any warmth. Into this evening, the showers continue across more northern areas. It's parts of Aberdeenshire where we could see rainfall totals starting to build up by the end of today. As we look further south, we continue to see an unsettled picture. Further heavy showers, those brighter colours denoting the heavier showers across much of the UK. It will turn a little bit drier, though, across more southern areas into this evening. And most of the showers should slowly start to fade away overnight, though there's still a risk of some rain for many areas, particularly across the north, where we're closer to that area of low pressure. So some clearer skies developing further south, particularly across more southeastern areas, and temperatures will fall away a little lower than they have done recently. We'll be in the single figures rurally, just above that in any towns and cities to start the day on Friday. Now, Friday brings more in the way of drier and brighter weather. There'll still be quite a lot of cloud around, and we've still got quite fresh air. So it's not going to be a particularly warm day, particularly in the shade or when the clouds covering the sunshine. When the sun does peek out, it will feel a little bit better than it has done through much of this week, because the winds will be lighter too. So temperatures just the mid-teens for most of us, but feeling a little bit more pleasant. Bye-bye.
5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates, 5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5. You got me. You got me good there. Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show.
It's not a bad brand.
Yeah. Uncensored.
Very, very racy tonight.
On the unpredictable.
What does she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
As soon as it hits 11 and the headlines come in,
The Late Edition brings you the breaking news from all the front pages.
because the news is going to happen.
So get a head start today.
Patrick Christie's tonight, late edition.
Alex Armstrong tonight, Late Edition. From 11 o'clock every night.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. It's 18 minutes to 12. You're watching Britain's Newsroom on GB News with Andrew Pearce and Miriam Cates.
Keir Starmer has accused Elon Musk of whipping up division after the murder of Henry Novak.
Well, this comes after police officers have admitted to feeling controlled and pressurised under diversity policies.
And, of course, the questions continue over the way the police treated Henry Novak as he lay dying. We're going to talk now to former Detective Chief Inspector at the Met Police and Head of Crime and Justice Policy Exchange, David Spencer. David, I think policing is in a real state of crisis now because so many people who've seen that footage of Henry's last moments are completely appalled and shocked.
Yeah, and I certainly join them. I find it very difficult to understand what was going on in terms of the decision-making by the officers there. And obviously the Independent Office of Police Conduct will investigate what's going on there. But I think the wider questions here, and there are some really big policy questions, and I know you've been talking about it here on GB News, things like the Police Race Action Plan and the policies nationally and in local forces, which essentially instruct officers to treat people in different ways in pursuit of equality of policing outcomes. And that explicitly they talk about, and I've got it here in front of me, it does not mean treating everyone the same or being colourblind. And I think those policies and those broader issues are really important that we look at. And what I'd be really concerned about is any efforts to limit or police the nature of the debate, because that debate is vital that we have now.
Now, David, you've written a fascinating piece in the Critic magazine about this very issue, and you call into question whether or not the police should actually have the authority to produce these kind of policy documents, the Race Action Plan, for example, and that actually we cannot trust the IOPC or any other police body to review this objectively, and it should return into the hands of elected politicians. Would you like to see Shabana Mahmood, for example, take over the running of any reforms that are to take place?
Well, the police rightly have what's called operational independence, which basically means that it is for police officers to decide who gets arrested and who gets investigated. But what we're looking at here is far, far beyond that. This is policy making, and policymaking in a democracy must be the remit of elected politicians and those in Parliament and in government and ministers. And so it seems to me logical, therefore, that when we're talking about policymaking, which is what this is, that should be a question for the Home Secretary. And at the moment, it appears that there's some kind of delegation going on to chief constables to be able to make up their own policy in this area, and the policy essentially about how different people in this country are treated. And that seems concerning to me, and I think would be concerning to most of the public, is that in a democracy we elect politicians to have these debates and then be elected and then make these decisions when it's matters of policy.
Well, thank you so much, David Spencer, for joining us this morning. Very sensible.
Very sensible. He always is. There is a statement, but we've read this before, haven't we?
By the National Police Chief Constable Gavin Stevens, said that it would make changes. We'll be listening to legitimate concerns about how some of the commitments are worded or phrased, and where needed, we can and will make changes, but should not detract from the intent, which is to improve the quality of policing. And the head of the IOPC said we'd respectfully ask them to stop speculating and stop miscommunicating.
Now, up next,
online.
This is the moment I've been looking forward to. I don't really do football, but we want to share with you why Arsenal Football Club have donated their socks to some great asses. I'm being literal. Stay tuned for that.
If you want to know what that's about, it has something to do with donkeys.
You're listening on the radio. They're lovely donkeys.
Not quite sure it has to do with football, but never mind. But first of all, before that, if you can wait, we've got our European weather forecast.
You're looking happy.
Well, the forecast looks good.
So you've sorted the travel insurance then?
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Things are warming up over Italy and Croatia as we head towards the weekend. Plenty of sunshine across Spain and Portugal also. Brisk winds, but sunny spells likely for Madeira and the Canary Islands. There's lots of sunshine for the Algarve and most of the Spanish costas. Just a small chance of a bit more cloud in the east and perhaps one or two showers. A bit more cloud over central Italy on Friday, but that should be clearing away. And as I said at the start, temperatures likely to be on the rise in Rome and also Dubrovnik as we go through the weekend.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
From cold mornings
to warm family brunches,
from football to tennis in the car,
in the kitchen,
GB News Breakfast is there with the stories you need and the conversations that matter.
Anyway, let's talk business.
Well, it has been a historic night in British politics.
It's astonishing, isn't it?
We're here again to start your day just right. GB News Breakfast.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Britain's news channel.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Now, I love this story. He's English footballing royalty, but the looming World Cup this summer in North America isn't the reason that Gordon Banks is in the news. No, it's for a far more shocking and mysterious reason. His grandson, Ed, has enlisted the help of investigative journalist Gabriel Gatehouse in the new podcast Foul Play to interrogate the staggering claims that the World Cup winning goalkeeper, get this, could have been poisoned by the CIA at the 1970 Mexico World Cup. It's the front page of The Observer today. Despite that, Gordon Banks pulled off one of the most iconic moments in football history when he made an incredible save, and what a save it was, to keep out Pele's header in a game against Brazil. Here he was reflecting on that a few years ago.
He says, I travel all over the world, he says, and people talk about the goals that I scored, he says, but when I come to England, all they talk about is that save that you made to me.
What a guy. Well, with me now, I'm pleased to say, is Gordon Banks' grandson and the host of the Foul Play podcast, Ed Jervis. Ed, great to see you. Thank you for joining us on The Late Show Live. This story is fascinating, so I'll let you explain, but long story short, it was the 1970 World Cup. England were favourites alongside Brazil. England ended up playing Brazil in the latter stages of the tournament, and first of all, was it Bobby Moore got arrested for stealing a bracelet in Colombia, but then, more personally, Gordon Banks, your grandfather, suddenly went down ill, the only squad member to get ill, and he had to miss the game against Brazil, right? And eventually England were knocked out of the World Cup.
Yeah, well, it was actually
sorry to correct you. It was West Germany, but the meeting. Oh no, it's absolutely fine. The meeting was all about the final, and the chat was about whether England would meet Brazil in the final. They'd played in the group stages. My granddad had made that save against Pele in the group stages.
GB News, the People's Channel.
I've been in Westminster for a long time, but I know that though power may be here, its effect on people's lives is across the whole of the country. We may be where rules are made, but it's where they're implemented that matters. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for forthright and frank discussion on where Britain has come from, where it's going, and where it will end up. That's State of the Nation, Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Vox Populi, Vox Dei.
Well, we all know that Andrew's a massive football fan, and he's been telling me that the Premier League champions Arsenal have donated around 40 pairs of socks to donkeys to help protect their legs from infection during the summer.
Well, I think this is delightful. We're going to talk now to Nicola Knight, who's from the Red Wings Horse Sanctuary. Nicola, good morning. We've seen some charming images of your donkeys with these socks on. What do the socks do? Do they keep the sun off the donkey's legs, or is it when they... Why do they wear them?
Why? Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, they can be used for all kinds of things. So we use them mainly to protect the donkey's legs from fly bites. Donkeys have very sensitive skin, so we use them, and they're actually perfect football socks because they're nice and long, they stay up, they're really tight, and these ones are also footless, so they're absolutely perfect for our animals. We can also use them to cover up bandages, so to keep them clean when the horses and donkeys are in vet care. We've even used them on head collars to protect them from being rubbed. And they also use them for enrichment. So as you can see here, they like to play with them. We hide bananas and other treats inside them.
Oh, it's so sweet. And they don't object to you putting the socks on them?
No, mostly. There is one particular individual called Dave the donkey who is never very keen. But the rest of them, you know, they're great.
Do you think they're Arsenal fans or Tottenham fans?
Well, we've had a few Spurs fans saying this might be animal cruelty. But, you know, yeah, we think they're all Arsenal fans.
Yeah.
It was an Arsenal fan.
Where is your donkey sanctuary? Just remind us.
So we're based in Norfolk. We've also got a centre in Harlow in Essex as well. And a couple of centres in Norfolk. These donkeys here that you can see are our Caldecott Centre near Great Yarmouth.
And if these are donkeys, have they been abused or got sick and came to you? How do they come to be with you, Nicola?
Yeah, they're all rescued. So we've got 1,000 rescued horses and donkeys in our care. We've got about 90 donkeys. So yeah, they've all come from places of neglect or cruelty. So yeah, it's really lovely to be able to sort of see them flourish and be looked after and cared for.
And how did this relationship with Arsenal Football Club develop? Did they approach you or did you go to them?
They actually approached us. We had a contact with them earlier in the year. They asked us, would our donkeys and horses like some socks? And so we spoke to our vet team and they said, yes, please. We have tried different socks before, but normal socks don't work as well. And so they sent us a sample to trial and they worked brilliantly. So they've now sent us a load more, as you can see.
And do they wear shin pads?
They don't wear shin pads, no. And they're actually rubbish at football.
Oh, are they?
Yeah, we have tried to get them to play, but yeah, they're not very keen.
No, they're not interested. They want their bananas, don't they? Well, it's a lovely story, Nicola. It's lovely. And, you know, you would think Arsenal, with all this they've had going on this year, to take time to think about your donkeys.
It's just so lovely, you know, and Kai Havertz, who plays for them, actually has his own rescued donkeys in Germany. So there's a really nice sort of connection there. And, yeah, we were cheering them on at the weekend. It's really a fantastic, gesture from them, and we're so grateful. And we're hoping that they'll do more for us as well. They're looking for some other things they can donate, so you never know.
Well, I think it's lovely, and they know when those bananas are in the socks, don't they?
That's very colourful.
Yeah, Nicola, what a lovely story. Thank you for coming on and talking to us. That's Nicola Knight, who's from the Red Wings Horse Sanctuary. And well done, Arsenal Football Club.
Yes, interesting that one of their players has rescued donkeys. I wonder if that's where the idea came from. Otherwise, it does seem rather random. Anyway,
you get all the best news here on Britain's Newsroom. Coming up next with Mark and Emily. Good afternoon, Britain. They can't match that story, I can tell you now.
No donkey socks on our show.
Well, it makes a change from his fishnets, doesn't it? Well, the very latest, of course, on the fallout from Henry Novak's murder. Kemi Badenoch has been to visit the family.
And we'll be speaking to the editor of the controversial Muslim news site 5 Pillars about whether Islam is compatible with British democracy and society. That's all to come on the show today. Good afternoon, Britain, 12 till 3.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Morning, welcome to your latest weather update from the Met Office here on GB News. It's a day of showers, plenty of them, heavy ones particularly across the south where hail and thunder are also likely, and some gusty winds too. That means the showers will tend to zip through, but a good day for puddle jumping or rainbow spotting. Across Scotland, the showers will be quite slow moving, so here the rainfall could really build up as we go through the day. Whereas in the south, as I said, with the gusty winds, the showers will tend to come and go, and there will be some sunny spells between those showers, which will see temperatures up into the high teens, maybe squeaking close to 20 Celsius, but feeling cooler with the breeze and certainly feeling cooler when the showers come along. So a good day for the gardens as those showers continue to replenish the water butts, particularly across the south, where, as I say, the showers could be pretty intense, some hail and thunder mixed in. By the evening, some drier slots revealing a little bit of sunshine, but the showers chugging through across Northern Ireland, through the Irish Sea into northwest England. Further north, the winds are lighter. So as I said at the start, the showers could be quite slow moving here. Could end up being quite a wet day for some, particularly across Aberdeenshire. Temperature-wise here, struggling a little bit to get much above 13 or 14 Celsius. Through the evening and overnight, staying showery, but the showers will tend to fade, certainly across many central and eastern parts. Good chance of largely clear skies over eastern England, so much of Wales after midnight, but the showers will certainly keep going across Scotland. Temperature-wise, most towns and cities holding up in double digits. On to Friday, it is broadly speaking another day of sunshine and showers, but not as many showers. A better chance of seeing longer dry spells, and indeed parts of eastern Scotland, eastern England may not see many showers at all. And even further west, the showers won't be as intense, certainly won't be as frequent. Some clouds certainly will build up through the day, but many places seeing at least some spells of sunshine. Temperatures maybe a degree or so down, but the winds at least a touch lighter on Friday.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
There's a totally tax-free £76,543.21 in cash to be won. Cash to spend on anything you like. That's like having over £6,000 extra to spend each month for a whole year. You could spend it on a bucket list holiday, treats for all of the family, or just save it for a rainy day. For a chance to win, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB21 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 26th of June. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pulled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
Join me, Nana Okoye, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference.